Preston Ebner checking in for Smith. Ebner split wide left. Chapin looking up top. He's looking for Ebner. Ebner's open. He has it. Touchdown Bears. A 61-yard score.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Look, Sanders keeps it, makes a cut, first down, still running. Spencer Sanders all the way to the house. A crucial touchdown for Oklahoma State to fight back 37 yards.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Leary in motion. The throw goes the other way. Mechie's in. Alabama wins in 4 overtimes.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
And here's the reverse. Heading to the corner. Heading. Touchdown, Michigan.
Call us on the BetUS hotline. 254-339-1122.
Third and goal. Here's Chapin into the end zone, and how about that swagger? Another touchdown pass for Chapin. Ben Sims on the receiving end of this one.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I sometimes use this phrase, and there's no question that today you stick your head in a tank of gasoline and light it with a match. We don't even need the gasoline. We don't need the match. It might be the most bizarre, wild, crazy, exhilarating, gut-wrenching 2 or 3 days in college football that I can ever remember, and we will try to get back to what happened Saturday with games. But yet, the coaching change at Oklahoma, the coaching hire with USC, LSU is still out there going, hey, how about us? Baylor and Oklahoma State are in the Big 12 championship game. Michigan finally slays the dragon. And oh my goodness, there's so many other things to get to I can't even imagine. We will at some point today, and we'll have a segment where we'll look at the baseball free agent signings. Pretty good day for the Rangers. The Cowboys and COVID. And then also a little bit about maybe a few other things along the way. Congratulations to Seth Luttrell and UNT for beating UT San Antonio to make a bowl game. Phil Bennett today joins us at 5 o'clock. I don't even know. We start. Baylor's in the Big 12 championship game for the second time in 3 years. And yes, there is the Lincoln Riley bombshell.
What are we talking about? Never heard that. That came out of the blue with Lincoln Riley to USC, and admirably denied that he was going to be the LSU coach and did not tell a lie, because no one in the world thought that USC was on the board for Lincoln Riley. He dominates recruiting in Southern California right now anyway. Already got a lot of decommits, probably guys heading to USC with him that were already in Oklahoma. This is going to be a wild couple of weeks, and I didn't see it coming. I did not see it. Does not happen where blue bloods steal blue bloods head coaches that often, especially going from a job in Norman, which is much more consistent and stable, to Southern California where it's not. And I'm still trying to figure it all out.
Well, I don't know how Southern California is not stable, though. I mean, it seems pretty stable, the commitment they're making to him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been stable. I think it's stable now, though. They've got Lincoln Riley. That's a far cry from Clay Helton and a far cry from really anything we've seen in Los Angeles in quite some time. So, yeah, it was absolutely shocking. You look back on the video of the postgame on Saturday night with Riley denying the LSU question, and the whole time knowing that he in a few hours was going to be boarding a flight to Los Angeles. I think that's pretty wild. Just a few hours or not even an hour removed from a brutal, devastating loss that ended his Oklahoma career after 5 years. I mean, for it to all unfold that way in about 24, 48 hours time, and for there to be the biggest, smoke screen going on thanks to just online people that are LSU fans basically creating, Riley rumors and furthering speculation. And I don't have any doubts that there was probably something to some of that. Like, I think LSU would be complete morons to not actually debate the odds of Lincoln Riley if they thought that there was any possibility. And based on what we saw, there was clearly a possibility for Lincoln Riley to go somewhere. So I don't have any doubts that LSU might have been connected to him at some point. But for it to be such a switcheroo and to nobody see the 18-wheeler coming from the side because we were too busy staring straight ahead, what a phenomenal job by USC. I mean, to keep this under wraps and to get it done, and to get it done what appears to be pretty quickly and over the Thanksgiving holiday. Obviously a lot of people probably have different opinions about Lincoln Riley now, based on this move, especially if you live in the state of Oklahoma. But, yeah, earth-shattering news. Complete game changer, a landscape changer. It changes a lot. And, I'm very fascinated by what the future looks like for USC, for Oklahoma, for Texas, for the SEC. I mean, all of it that comes with it. And, as you mentioned, Baylor's going to a Big 12 title game, and that's a pretty big deal too.
Well, okay, Lincoln has a picture this is from Jason Kersey, writes for theathletic.com, and I think Ryan Aber was there and a couple of others. I've been in touch with Gabe Eichert to try to get him on today. You can imagine what it's like to be on radio and TV in that market. Dean Blevins, who joined us 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was waiting for Lincoln Riley on the coaches show yesterday evening, and all of a sudden, after a 2 or 3 hour delay, was told, no, he won't be here. And why? He'll join us a little bit later in the show, around 4:45 or 4:30 today. Now, there was a picture. Alex Greenwich, Lincoln Riley, wide receivers coach Dennis Simmons, Director of Ops Clark Stroud, and strength coach Benny Wiley arriving at OKC Airport. That was very early this morning to get on a flight to depart for Los Angeles. There's a press conference in L.A. that starts in about 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, and that wasn't a picture. That was full-blown video from the airport this morning. You had Eddie Radosevich, who we know from Sooner Scoop, and a couple of other reporters. And I've never seen a media like the OU media in terms of hiding in bushes and across the street and I've seen multiple instances now, in particular involving Eddie, of where he's like at a location, under the cover of darkness or behind a bush.
He actually does like a play on that sometimes.
He does. Video. Yeah. But it's like 6 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch black outside, or even maybe earlier than that, and there he and a couple of other OU guys are in the cover of darkness watching these cars drive into the airport or whatever. It's wild, but yeah, They saw Riley and Simmons and Grinch and all those guys heading to the airport. All of them were decked out in OU gear, at least the ones that I saw getting out of the car, and they are headed to Southern California. And you wondered immediately what the fallout was going to be, and we've seen the fallout in recruiting. We're going to see way more. We've seen
Spencer Rattler entered the portal, not surprising.
We've seen the fallout with the team, and we're going to see more. And we've seen the fallout with the coaches, and we're going to see more. And I don't know where the fallout ends for Oklahoma. As somebody who's followed them my whole life, I was never real big on this SEC move to begin with. I think that they had a good spot in the Big 12. I certainly understood it from certain aspects, money, and maybe the financial piece is more important to Oklahoma than we realize. And they're not as set up like a Texas or maybe some schools like that, and that's even more reason why they made this move. But I mean, in terms of, all the people that are poking fun and saying, well, you guys are going to be the next Arkansas or the next, whoever. I mean, right now, there's a really good chance of that. I mean, there really is. And Oklahoma, more so than even Texas, even though Texas is the one that had to avoid a 7-game losing streak to end the year this past weekend, and they did that to their credit. I mean, now Oklahoma's the one that's really on their ass and wondering what in the world is going on. And all this talk about, we need to get out of the Big 12 as soon as possible. Do you really want to right now? I mean, you probably still do. But are you ready for that? Because I don't know that you were ready for it when Lincoln Riley was still head coach, much less when he's gone and Caleb Williams is going to be gone and who knows how many other guys are going to be gone, and you have no idea who that next head coach is going to be.
This is the first time this has happened to Oklahoma since 1947 when their coach, whose name escapes me now, left OU for Maryland, something that would not happen in almost any sport nowadays. But he left OU for Maryland. Every other coach, Bud Wilkinson, name a coach, they all went, out on their own terms, or they got fired, but all the great ones, especially, Switzer, had a scandal, but even still, he kind of,
he got fired because of a scandal.
But, so that wasn't his own terms, but even still, he's still revered as a legend there, and only went to the NFL, didn't go coach anywhere else in college after that. Bob Stoops went out on his own terms. Everybody else did. So it's kind of strange. They don't know. And Joe Castiglione got caught, flat-footed on this one. And I think maybe LSU got caught a little flat-footed in this whole coaching search, and that they've had an opening for a long time, and either Scott Woodward is going to make Jimbo Fisher tell him no a whole bunch of times, or he doesn't really know who he wants, and this maybe even more highlights the fact that there's not a whole lot of fish in the water to just go get to fix your program.
And Napier was part of the fishing pond, but he's now at Florida. That was something that happened over the weekend. Lashley is now at SMU. That's official. Dykes, of course, late in the week, of course, ends up at TCU. He's also taking Garrett Riley as his offensive coordinator. And so all that's going on. All of that in the last 24 to 48 hours is going on. Our conversation with Dave Aranda from earlier today, we'll have that today at 4 o'clock. And I bring up how allowing outside noise into the program and discussing the coaching carousel. He was asked about it even today in the media session, and his response to that today at 4 o'clock. A couple of Baylor notes I want to get to about what Dave Aranda did say about injuries. Gary Bohannon was going to go through a walkthrough today. They'll continue to see where he is with the pulled hamstring. He did not play, although he warmed up before the game against Texas Tech. Kalen Barnes looks to be good to go, the corner, and Christian Morgan will be closer to a game-time decision at safety. All right? Isn't it crazy? I mean, there's so much more to get to. Zach Evans is transferring. Craig, you nailed this like months ago. Zach Evans leaving TCU has entered the transfer portal.
One of the most overrated, talked about players in quite some time, in my opinion, just in terms of the impact actually made on the field and all the discussion about him. Who knows? Maybe he goes to USC now or wherever he wants to go. Maybe he goes to Texas, USC. I mean, who the heck really knows? But, yeah, I mean, TCU got nothing out of the Zach Evans experiment when all was said and done. They might have gotten a few wins that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise, but they didn't even get that, especially not this year. So, yeah, that was a big signing after he was originally committed to Georgia and, various other things that happened during his recruiting process to where he ultimately ended up at TCU. Played, okay, had a couple good games, definitely flashed why he was a 5-star, but ultimately it never amounted to really anything in the long run. And I'm curious to see where he goes. I mean, he's a very talented player, but I've just always been of the opinion that he's gotten a lot more attention just because of what he did in high school and how many stars he had next to his name as opposed to what he actually did in college.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
By the way, we want to thank you as well. And you may not understand why, but we always want to thank you. Right now, 379 are currently watching at this specific second. You can also hit the thumbs up, the like button as well, and subscribe if you haven't. And speaking of subscribing, we are now over 15,100 subscribers. In late July, when the Texas and Oklahoma story hit, and before we knew most of you who are now a part of what we do, and vice versa, we had 2,600 subscribers. You have found us, and we have found you, and it has been a glorious ride. A journey that doesn't always mean we agree. But thank you, by the way, for being with us again today. 15,000 plus subscribers, and we appreciate you for that. All right, the chat room's going nuts. The text line's going nuts. By the way, quick congratulations to Jeff Grimes at Baylor, Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator, Oklahoma State. They're about to face off again. Both of them among the finalists for the Broyles Award. Josh Gaddis. How about Michigan? They beat up Ohio State. It wasn't like a 40-point win, but it felt like that. Dan Lanning at Georgia, we have great respect for him. And Warren Ruggiero of Wake Forest is also among the finalists for the Broyles Award for the top assistant coach in America.
To that Michigan-Ohio State game, really from game one of the year, you saw what Ohio State's one real weakness was, and it was physical play.
Oregon ran right down their throat.
And so did Minnesota. Minnesota lost Minnesota wasn't going to win that game against Ohio State, but Minnesota controlled a ton of it until their best player got hurt, and they did it by running right at Ohio State. And so from game one on, we've seen what Ohio State's weakness was. They were able to fend it off with an offense which is, like swatting at a beehive and hoping to run away from it because they have so many different weapons that just come at you. But when it's snowing and maybe things start out a little slow for you and Michigan can just run right at you over and over and over again, really an impressive win by the Wolverines.
We're going to get to some of the text messages. We'll have John Jansen, a longtime Michigan. He's interviewed Jim Harbaugh. In fact, right before he got on the phone with me, recorded it with a former All-American at Michigan. Played with Washington for a long time, played 1 year, I think, with the Lions, a hell of a player. And what that win for Michigan meant to everybody attached to Michigan, and he had just gotten off the phone with an interview with Jim Harbaugh. What have we not discussed? Phil Bennett of North Texas, defensive coordinator, longtime guest of the show for the longest of time, former Baylor defensive coordinator. He's been everywhere. Oklahoma, A&M, Kansas State, Arizona State recently, and now at North Texas. He's at LSU. He'll join us today at 5 after their win against previously unbeaten UT San Antonio.
Did you say he's at LSU?
He was at LSU. I was knocking down all the. He's at North. I said North Texas defensive coordinator, but he was there too.
I do have to toot my horn on it again. I did it on the post game show, but I will do it again. I did put UTSA on upset watch on the pregame show the other day.
No, well. They got upset. They got beat up pretty badly, and that ends their unbeaten season. They'll still play in the championship game. How about, and again, I know some of you, Houston and Cincinnati for the American Championship. And what's on the line there for the Cincinnati Bearcats? And really for Houston as well, they've won, I think, 10 in a row since that late loss when they had a 21-0 lead against Texas Tech. My God, what a day. And we want to now come back and take your text messages and calls as well. We'll have John Jansen today at 3:45. One of our favorite guys to talk to with USC football, Ryan Abraham. He'll join us tomorrow on the show as they're having the press conference today at 3 o'clock Pacific. We'll get him on as well.
All right, let's take one call real quick before we take the first break. Patrick from Maryland, you are on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hello, hi. What's up?
Hey, Patrick.
Yeah. Hi, yeah, I'm doing good. All right, so I want to discuss our conference realignment. I know, of course, there's a lot of rumors and reports going on. I'm a Gonzaga fan, and I know there's been a lot of rumors of Gonzaga possibly going to the Mountain West. But of course, currently, with the Big 12 trying to realign for round 2, of course, there's rumors of even the Big 12 taking some schools from the Mountain West. So of course, I'm a bit worried about how the future of Gonzaga is going to be with all this conference realignment. What's your view on that?
Well, we go ahead. They got beat, by the way, by Duke, who's now number 1 in the country. Gonzaga dropped to 3. Baylor is 4.
Unfortunately for Gonzaga, realignment doesn't really have anything to do with basketball, and they're one of the best at it every single year. I do think, though, that the Mountain West would be weakened especially if the Big 12 goes and takes Boise State out of it, which is likely to happen. So, but it still will be maybe a better conference than they're in. And I think that the one thing I think that maybe Gonzaga could complain about or that hurts them when they get into the tournament, and it certainly hurt them last year, was they can play in in November and December, they might get a win over a Power 5 team and look really good doing it. But then they get in the tournament like they have in the past, and when it gets down to it, and the championship team that's played better teams all year long. Baylor last year was ultimately prepared for Gonzaga because they played a way better schedule down the line, including in the tournament. They got a tougher draw in the tournament by being the second overall seed that Gonzaga did, and then So I don't know. That would help them, I think, in the long run.
They were trying to win their third top 5 game, which is silly, crazy. I don't care who you like or don't like. That would have been stupid silly to be able to do that. But how about the win for Duke? And they're now number 1. And Kansas was beaten by Dayton, which was out of nowhere. It also shook up the top 10 as well.
Yeah, we'll see on the Mountain West. Another commissioner recently said that negotiations with the Zags aren't dead, so keep an eye out on that. I mean, the thing about realignment is it doesn't happen quickly. Apparently there's still talks going on, and we'll kind of see where that goes. But, yeah, obviously not as much on the forefront as if they were a football school and the ramifications that has. Being a basketball school, maybe a little bit more lost in the shuffle, but certainly an attractive program that I don't think you're going to have any worries about them landing somewhere where that program will still be able to shine. So whether that's the Mountain West or, what other option there may be, including, staying just in the same spot that they are really, I think Gonzaga basketball is going to be A-okay.
Yeah, they'll end up being right there and be stunned if they don't get to the Final Four. And make that run along with a few teams you expect. I'll tell you this.
Maybe with contracts. You never know what conference, like a Big East with their basketball love, if they get to, some massive TV contract or something, or not massive, obviously, for Big East basketball, but something that you could tie in and bring in, we got a Gonzaga, that pulls in more of a money figure, you would think. And so, yeah, they might be used as not as a pawn, but as a nice piece to move around the board that makes it more beneficial for everybody.
Would love maybe one day we have this. You want chaos? Let's have realignment for football only, and then have college basketball, men's college basketball realignment, and let all those toys kind of match each other up.
They would be right at the top of the list.
And they would be, no question.
So I think, you look at the Mountain West, the Big East, and who knows what else. But, yeah, Gonzaga's going to be fine.
The future Big 12 is right now with Oklahoma State and Baylor. The teams that were left behind when Texas and Oklahoma made their decision to go and leave for the SEC, whenever that might be. You have 2 teams that are left behind that clawed their way to the top, and they did it emphatically. Even though Baylor does have the bad stain with a loss to TCU. Houston, future Big 12. Cincinnati, future Big 12. They're playing each other for the American Conference Championship. Brigham Young could end up in the top 10 anytime soon, because they just won the Pac-12, basically, and they keep rolling along since the loss that they had to Baylor. All right, when we come back, we're going to take your calls, texts, and much more. You don't want to take a break? All right, 254-339-1122, 254-339-1122. Rapid fire. We'll read some of your text messages and chat room as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. As we've been saying for a while now, production issues have been a bit of a problem for dealerships across the country. It's been hard to get new vehicles out because, there's been microchip problems, and the production lines aren't moving around as much as, everybody would like them to. But the good news is that the supply chain challenges are starting to slowly but surely be corrected, and cars and trucks are getting out there and becoming a little bit easier to find. Production has slowed, but cars and trucks are coming. So right now, contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they're being shipped. You can drive a new car or truck sooner when you get on the inbound vehicle list at Richard Carr to get your car or truck first as they arrive. If you're looking for a pickup, we'll check out the Sierra. Ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes Sierra one of the best trucks on the road. In addition to Sierras, they got a great lineup of SUVs from Buick, various options that offer size and versatility to fit every lifestyle, or maybe you're looking for a little combination of sophistication and power. We'll check out the new Cadillac XT6 or Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming, so again, call or contact Richard Carr with what you want to get on their inbound vehicle list and get your vehicle before anyone else. And if you're looking to save and drive today, they're also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks that all go through a 172-point inspection. So go online or come by for a test drive today. And for those in the greater Waco area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. So give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
It's time now for The Naked Truck, the ongoing saga of the battle to end truck nudity, presented by Pickup Outfitters. In this episode, we find Amanda and Brad on a date.
Oh, Amanda, will you?
Brad, I'm sorry. I just can't go out with you in this truck anymore. It's just so bare. You have nothing on this truck.
But I have these subs that I bought online.
Online? Really? Subwoofers are just a way for a man to make up for his lack of equipment. I'm going out with Justin.
Oh, I know why.
It's not just because he has a big dually. It's not the size of the truck that matters. You have tunes that give me a headache. Justin has running boards and a hitch to pull his boat.
That's just because he goes to Pickup Outfitters.
Maybe you should take a lesson, Brad.
Will Amanda and Justin find happiness? Will Brad go to Pickup Outfitters? Tune in again to The Naked Truck. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
I was driving up to Dallas to see Jennifer and listening to Alabama-Auburn. It was 10-0 forever. And about the time I got to their house, Alabama scores at the very end on a 97-yard drive. You had the LSU A&M ending. You had an incredible game between Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. It was an amazing weekend. Of course, Michigan, Ohio State, when it comes about big-time rivalries, was there as well. All right, the chat room is blowing up. from 440, the top four for the college ranking tomorrow should be Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame. Alabama's schedule's been an absolute joke. They do have, 3 or 4 or so, maybe 5 top 25 wins. They have played one team during the regular season with 2 losses or less. They did not have to play the 2 best teams in the other division of the SEC.
Yeah, but, Oklahoma State just they beat the number 8 team in the country, a month and a half ago or whenever that was. And they just beat the number 10 team in the country last week. So that's better than almost any 2 wins that most of the teams in that top 4 have.
Yeah, Oklahoma State should be in over Notre Dame, in my opinion, and that's a result of the Irish not having that bonus point. If Oklahoma State goes out and beats a top 10 Baylor team this weekend and Notre Dame's just sitting at home, what would you do? I'm looking at the fact that Oklahoma State played a full Big 12 schedule and then played a top 10 Baylor team and beat them a second time after beating Oklahoma, after beating all these other teams. I think Notre Dame not having that conference championship game, that could come back to bite them. Quite honestly, they're right there on the verge, and I guess the case can be made depending on what happens. But I'd have to give the nod to Oklahoma State with that extra bonus, with that extra game.
Look, if I'm making my top 4, it's Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State right now. And if style points matter for every other team in the country, they should matter for Alabama.
But, Paul, it's a rivalry game.
I know. Well, it's a rivalry.
And that was an incredible win.
No. But I'm talking about style points the whole year.
I know.
They have close wins over 3, 6, and 6 teams. So those matter for everybody else.
And about almost lost to their back-to-back, almost lost their second game to an unranked team because they had who now is probably going to knock themselves down and outside the 20 with the loss to LSU in Orgeron's finale. All right, let's go to a couple more texts, and we'll get to the phone calls when they light up as well. From David, I have no evidence karma is a thing, but Riley bailing out sure seems like the definition of karma for the Oklahoma program. And I've seen this before, and I'm not going to believe it. I've had people, and I've seen it before, that Lincoln Riley's bailing on Oklahoma because he doesn't want to compete in the SEC. He didn't take the LSU job because he didn't want to compete in the SEC, and it's an easier path at Southern Cal. I know that's out there. I'm just telling you, and I'm one of the minorities here, I don't think that was anything if you're a coach like Lincoln Riley, but I've seen that out there.
Well, Oklahoma's holding their press conference right now. Bob Stoops is back in Crimson and Cream, and he looks happy as all get out. And, man, I wouldn't even be surprised if he was the next head coach, honestly, with the energy in the air right now. But good to have a guy like Bob Stoops so connected to your program to be able to come in a situation like this. So very admirable on his part. I do think the SEC thing played into it. I don't think it was a deciding factor. I don't think it was even maybe a top 3 factor. But I do think when you added everything up and then you throw that in there, yeah, it probably was a factor along with a lot of other things. I think the biggest deal is just the fact that, like he said, he wanted a new challenge, and he wanted something different. Lincoln Riley has been kind of known as a Southern California type of guy. I am somebody who, if I'm out in Southern California, I'm not necessarily interested in the politics and the traffic and other things, but the good things about Southern California, I absolutely feel like the best I ever feel when I'm out there. And it sounds like Lincoln Riley is one of those types of people, too, that he likes that Southern California vibe. So you can go be the head coach in Southern California at the premier institution, and all of the best recruits that you've been getting for the last 2 years are all from within an hour of where you're going to be versus having to get them on connecting flights to Norman, Oklahoma, and have them out there in the middle of the country all year. You can just drive down the road to any number of high schools and go get Caleb Williams or any of the guys that you had committed up until last night to Oklahoma. You're in the Pac-12 where really your challenge is Oregon and Utah, and that's about it. And USC has every means capable to be the juggernaut once again in that conference. I could go on and on and on. Location, recruiting, path, all that stuff. I think all of that, and then you throw in the whole challenge of being in the SEC. I don't know that Riley's scared of competition, but I think he has to be smart and go, I could still be a damn good coach and then lose 4 games a year and not have anything change because of just the path we're on right now. So I know Oklahoma made that decision for financial reasons and also for a little bit of spotlight reasons as well. But that's not the reason. It's one of them, though.
Here's 2 quotes from Oklahoma's press conference. Joe Castiglione, this is one that's interesting to me. I have no reason to believe that Lincoln Riley had conversations with USC before he informed us. That is all I'm going to say.
So he just randomly said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to." I mean, there had to be some conversation, but I guess it's not as. He's at least saying that it's not as nefarious as maybe some people have speculated it to be.
Bob Stoops will be on the Big Ten Championship pregame show with Big Fox Show. He is the Big Noon Show, whatever they call it. This place. Here's Stoops today, as Craig mentioned, and then to the calls. This place is a hell of a lot better shape than it was in December of 1998. To all of the fans, the players, and parents, give it time, this little bump in the road. And I'll tell you this, yes, there are blue bloods that have their ups and downs, and we're seeing more of them now than ever before. Oklahoma's had one little blip, and that was after Switzer and before Bob Stoops. They will be fine, and I do believe that, but they have been, no question, blindsided by what happened the last 24 hours.
Yeah, and one more thing. Big up to Mike Bone for identifying the major issue with USC, which was the best players in Southern California aren't going to the schools in California. And so who do you go get? The guy who's getting the largest chunk of them on his roster to a place that's so not Southern California that you got to be like, man, look, if this guy can just tell him, come stay here, a few miles from your house, as opposed to going to the middle of the country, I mean, that's going to change everything. I mean, like sometimes it's the simplest explanations are the best ones, and that's what Mike Bone did in hiring Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, you got to give him a lot of credit for as much as we've knocked on the Pac-12 or even Mike Bone, I guess. Although I don't think we've really talked about him specifically that much. More or less, just their administration historically has been a bit of a joke. But now you can't make too many jokes. I mean, that was a big boy move. Done very stealthily, but done very quickly and cleanly. And, now they're going to sit there and reap the benefits of it. I think Lincoln Riley's going to crush it out there. I think that USC is immediately going to be a contender. I think you're about to see that roster get completely flipped on its head and filled with a bunch of former Oklahoma guys and a bunch of commits who are planning on signing elsewhere that now are going, oh wait, Lincoln Riley's in LA. Well, we're going to stay closer to home. So just a great move brilliant move by USC. And it remains to be seen. I mean, can he crack the playoff now that he's out there? And by crack the playoff, I mean not make it, but actually win a playoff game. I think he has as good of a chance, if not maybe a slightly better chance to do that at Southern Cal.
He's had you talk about easy roads. What has he had for the last 10 years in the Big 12? I mean, Riley,
one of the easiest roads possible. I mean, all we've heard is how down the Big 12 is, right? Why? Because one team has been middle of the road, but Oklahoma hasn't been down that time. But yet we hear that, the Big 12's down. Well, I mean, maybe so, but you had a path to the playoff every single year, and this just happened to be the first year since the championship game returned a handful of years ago that they're not going to be in it. And that's strange, but I think it's great for the Big 12 in the long run, especially the timing of it this year with what all went on. The fact that it is an Oklahoma State and not an Oklahoma and a Baylor instead of a Texas, I think that's great. I think it's potentially a new rivalry for the Big 12 to build around, one of many that they could potentially have moving forward. And it's a golden opportunity for Baylor and Oklahoma State to seize the momentum as well and to, kind of take the first step in becoming that next team that kind of rules the roost in the Big 12, although nobody's likely to do it the way Oklahoma did it for so many years.
The Big 12 was not actually down. Texas was down.
Yeah.
But the Pac-12 actually is. I mean, that was the legit one, and people know that. All right, let's go to Coleman in Grand Prairie. You're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Doing well.
Y'all show is awesome.
Thank you.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So I am from Dallas originally, live in Memphis now. So I'm from the best state, but live in the best city. Memphis has to go to the Big 12. I'm a Memphis fan and a Longhorn fan. My wife went to Oklahoma State, so I was at that game. That was electric. Went to church in a Baptist church in Dallas. They used to always say, Baylor people would come in and be like, did y'all see that game? We almost won. Now what y'all are doing, it's incredible. And right down the street was Mark Roundtree and David Slover. His son's a good friend of mine. They're both on the Board of Regents, cleared it up. With all that being said, Memphis has to go to the Big 12. That's all I'll say. Texas will be back just fine. Oklahoma State, awesome school. But what are y'all hearing about Brett Venables to Oklahoma? That would be no bueno. He's a great coach. Not good for Texas, but Sark is our guy. We will be back. That's all I have to say. Keep it up.
Thank you very much about everything you've said. And also, you're right. Baylor fans went through a 17 or 16-year drought where they didn't get in the bowl game.
That game? They
almost won. And now you look what they've done now. And I asked Dave Aranda this at 4 o'clock today about how they have rebuilt this program 3 times in a decade. From Art Briles to Matt Rule to what Dave Aranda has done and how many 10-plus win seasons they have. They are on a great run despite things that have occurred along the way. Venables, I'm not paying as much attention as a lot of you are to Twitter. I see it in the chat room that's being reported. Be careful who's reporting it. Also, even those who you respect, and I have a lot of great respect for a lot of the national writers. We've had them on the show. But there was a lot of throwing mud against the wall in the last month about who was going where, and a lot of that mud never stuck. And then all of a sudden, well, now so-and-so's the leading candidate. Or now, and I understand they have a job to do. And I understand it clicks and views. Brett Venables to Oklahoma, that doesn't turn me on. I know where he is now. I know what he's done. I know what he was. And he used to be at Oklahoma, and they let him go. They wanted him to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, there came a point under Stoops where they were pretty good, but they were right there on that, couldn't get over the hump of winning the national title. They could get there. They could win the Big 12 and get there, but they could not actually win it. And, eventually you got to start pointing fingers. And Venables, eventually had the finger start getting pointed at him of what's the issue? Well, it's the defense can't stop anybody. And, the offense is great if we just had a defense to match. And then, he was out and, then it was something else. I mean, because they haven't won one since then. I mean, it's always been one thing or another. But I think that Venables is a very obviously good defensive coach. I don't know how to feel about him as a head coach just because I don't really know what to think of him as a head coach. I've never known him to be a head coach or even close to that. So he's got great history at OU. I know there's a lot swirling as far as him in Oklahoma goes, and that would make sense. I mean, because of the connections and the fact that he's a guy who's had opportunities over the last several years and has always held off, and we've never quite known why. I mean, part of it was, of course, his situation at Clemson. You're in the middle of title runs with Dabo, and your defense is, just filled with NFL talent, and you're having fun, and you don't have all that pressure on your shoulders. But maybe now, maybe in this situation, he's looking around and going, you know what, this is what I was waiting for. So I think, given the landscape, Venables versus, some of the other names being thrown around, I'd be okay with it. I don't, though, at the same time, feel like it's, automatically a home run either. I mean, it's a 50-50 thing, honestly. I could see the positives. I can also see where it could go wrong. But if you're Oklahoma right now, I don't know how many choices you have. And, the interesting name that I keep seeing, although there is a lot of smoke with Venables, so if that were to happen, that would not be surprising. But, and it's just Twitter, too, as far as what I'm about to mention. But a lot of people bringing up Matt Rule's name for Oklahoma. He's an NFL guy. We always knew that when he was at Baylor, eventually the NFL was going to come calling. It's just a different team called than we expected to. He actually turned down the Jets and, perhaps some others before Carolina eventually was able to pull him out of Waco. But, I mean, he's on the hot seat. I mean, he really is as of this weekend and maybe even before that for some Panthers fans. So he's got a massive contract in Carolina. I don't think he'd be dumb enough because Matt Rule's a smart guy to want to get out of that. You know what I mean? I think he'd want to probably ride that out for as long as he can. But at the same time, David Tepper, you wonder how patient he's going to be. He's invested a lot of money, obviously. But at the same time, if they're not going in the right direction, then, does he feel like they need to move on? Or does Matt Rule feel like he wants to, jump the gun before that bullet is aimed at him and go back to college where he's probably a better fit, honestly. Even though his mind was more geared towards the NFL, he probably is more of a college coach when all is said and done with just his philosophy and his style and motivation and all that kind of deal. So, yeah, that's a curious name as well, but definitely a lot of smoke with Venables.
Rod Webb, by the way, a quick. Come on now, that it wasn't mud they were throwing against the wall. No, it was turd bombs. It was just flat out blank.
That comes with content.
All right, we have John Jensen, Michigan All-American. I recorded that earlier today. It's about 9 or 10 minutes. We're going to go about another 3 or 4 minutes. Then we need a break. We can't get behind too far. Dave Aranda today at 4, and I think you'll love a lot of what he has to say. I hope you do. There's a lot of smoke. There's a Rangers just announcement of Corey Seager. They already have brought in
Marcus Semien.
They are putting out money. They haven't done that in a few years. They've been awful. So that's something we will go down the list of the free agent signings a little bit later when we have an opportunity on the show as well.
All right, Armstrong, put the shot clock.
How long is it?
We got 4 calls, so put the shot clock
What's the shot clock, Armstrong? 45 seconds. When
Okay.
you hear the bang, we've got to go to the next one.
All right, let's go to Anton in New Braunfels. Anton, thanks for your call.
Unicorns.
So I was just calling to ask, is the OU job, do you think OU regrets going to the SEC now and comparing OU to all the other Big 12 schools? Do you think the other Big 12 schools are just in general have done a lot better, and OU's kind of now towards the bottom of the Big 12?
No, they just lost in a game in which it could have been a bang-bang call. At the end of the game, they'd be playing Oklahoma State again this weekend. Oklahoma's fine.
Yeah.
Again, they're just fine.
They're fine, but they're towing the line right now, guys. I mean, let's be honest about it. We they're fine, but they're fine so long as they nail this next hire. Mm-hmm. If they don't nail this next hire, they are absolutely screwed.
Then they're in that.
They are absolutely
wonderland.
screwed.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I mean, who is their quarterback next year?
Well, we don't know.
No. Wait.
Yeah.
Who is their quarterback next year? Because it's not going to be Caleb Williams. I mean, I don't believe for 1 second he's not going to go to USC.
That would be a miracle if he stayed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and he's not going to.
Yeah.
He's not going to. So, I mean, if he does, I will do something silly on this show if Caleb Williams stays at Oklahoma. But I really don't believe that he will. I believe he'll be in what is USC's official colors? Not red and yellow. Scarlet
and gold.
Yeah. Whatever. Garnet and gold.
Don't beat us at Garnet. Yeah.
No, that's Florida State.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, red and yellow. Whatever.
Kill a fellow.
Yes. I don't believe that Caleb Williams will be there. Obviously, Spencer Rattler's transferred out today. They've got commits that have been fallen by the wayside for the upcoming couple of classes. Visits have started. I mean, what's going on in recruiting right now? Bob Stoops said tonight he's hitting the recruiting trail. How awesome is that? I mean, just as a positive. Yeah. Bob Stoops said he's going out on the recruiting trail tonight and that his wife is probably happy to have him out of the house. And I was just like, hire this man all over again. I mean, honestly, he's bringing a little bit of laughter to a really bad situation for OU. But to your point, I think Oklahoma will be fine so long as they hit on the next hire. If they don't, it could get really bad.
USC's colors, Tony Altimore, thank you, is Cardinal and gold.
Cardinal and gold. Okay, I'll get that right next time.
All right.
Thanks for the call, by the way, from New Braunfels.
All right, Jason in West Virginia, thanks for your call.
Hey, guys, just want to tell you guys something. Love the show. I kind of want to talk to you real quick about the conference as a whole and Oklahoma, but I'll touch with Oklahoma real quick. Kind of like over here from what I've been hearing with is just a name that probably not very many people are coming up with, but Dana Holgorsen possibly to Oklahoma. Now that he's got his money from Tillman, Farida, at Houston for getting the university into the Big 12, he might look at a better university so he can keep recruiting those players. I don't like that move if he would do it, but that's that. And then number two, the conference as a whole, we're looking at Cincinnati, potentially making the playoff or is going to get in, depending on what happens this weekend. Is that going to look more favorable towards us as the Big 12 for having them come in? Or is that going to still look more favorable towards the group of five and what it says for them doing what they did down there in the group of five level?
Okay, good stuff. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Let's make rapid fire.
On the last one real quick, I think it just makes the Big 12 look good for the foresight of going against Cincinnati. It's a group of five team that's pretty much ready to compete in any Power 5 league when they step in.
Doesn't hurt the group of five if they have success, absolutely, but I do think it makes the Big 12, it allows them to be better.
Well, I think when you look at Cincinnati, if anything, the group of five still isn't getting love for that. Because what is everybody saying about Cincinnati? Well, they don't play anybody. Who do they play? Well, guys, they beat Notre Dame. Okay, but besides that, who do they play? They're in the group of five. Who do they play? So I don't think they get enough credit or enough credits given to them as a group of five school. So therefore, I think it just makes the Big 12 look smart to be kind of on the forefront of escorting and inviting them into the big party. So I think it looks good for the Big 12. I think it looks good for Cincinnati because it's a piece of momentum to go along with the winning momentum that shows, man, they're making big strides. Like, not only are they winning games and they're in the playoff mix, but now they're joining the Big 12, and just imagine so I think that's a heck of a lot of momentum over the last few months for that Bearcats football program that will definitely shine well in the Big 12, to answer your question, more so than the Power 5. And then as far as Holgorsen, I don't know. I don't know that the OU fan base would really love that that hire. He's kind of
– He was just on the hot seat like a few weeks ago.
Last year, that was a COVID year, so you can't really take too much. But, man, he's doing a hell of a job in Houston, and I don't know why he'd want to leave. I mean, he likes the state of Texas. He left the Big 12 to get to Houston, and even though Houston's not going to be back in the Big 12, since they're going to be, it seems like a better reason to just stay where he is right now.
There's a picture of Lincoln Riley on a beach in California with that.
The peace sign?
Yeah.
And the Trojan sign?
The Trojan
USC.
sign. Paul, is that it?
No, we got two more on hold, but we got to go.
Here's what we're going to do. I appreciate those of you on hold. We do. Those of you texting, we can't get to all of them, but we appreciate it. When we come back, Michigan flexed their muscles. I felt like they were better, but I still thought Ohio State was just too explosive. And Michigan was the one that beat them up with their running game. John Jansen played their All-American lineman, played 10 years in the NFL. We'll have his conversation. And then Baylor head coach Dave Aranda joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Well, now that the holidays, at least the first wave of Thanksgiving is over, what are you going to get ready for what you have when it comes to any kind of Christmas parties? If you host something inside your home where you can now feel more comfortable about doing that, or you have various business Christmas parties as well, how about maybe appetizer trays or things you need? Well, Waco Custom Marketplace is your place. Baylor's home games are done. Their last one was against Texas Tech, so no more tailgating, although you can tailgate at AT&T Stadium on Saturday, even with yet another early 11 o'clock kick. Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for the holiday foods, the trays, and much more that you need, and they have a full-fledged butcher shop and bakery. Fresh baked bread every day, kolaches every day, and of course they have the butcher shop for seafood, pork, poultry, and my goodness, what they can do to cut a steak that you want, whether it's a bone-in ribeye, a filet, or something else. And up and down the aisles, a hometown, old-fashioned, good old days grocery store with all the knickknacks and things you need as well. Waco Custom Marketplace, WacoCustomMarketplace.com, and at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's the Black Friday sales event going on now. Come see the beautiful, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Allen Samuels. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on now and no payments for 90 days. First responders get an extra $500 cash. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarships and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
First down and 10 at the Ohio State 31. Again, they run it. Haskins sprinting. Out of bounds at the 5.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Former All-American offensive lineman at the University of Michigan, longtime NFL offensive lineman with Washington, Detroit, mainly with the Redskins, John Jansen with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. What did that win Saturday and how they won the game mean to Michigan and Michigan fans, alums, players, Harbaugh, everybody?
Well, there's so much to break down from that game and so much to take away from what that victory meant. Obviously for Jim Harbaugh, it gets everybody off of his back about not being able to beat his rivals, not being able to win against Ohio State. For the program, same thing, really. It's been 2 decades of not being able to beat your biggest rival, and having to listen to it day in, day out for so long. It was exhausting. And for these players, a lot of them said at the end of the game, it's the greatest day of their life. And I think if we all look back to when we were 18, 19, 20 years old, there's not a lot to draw from in regards to the greatest day of your life. I look back to that 97 season and beating Ohio State in the Big House, and I'm here to tell you, and I'm sorry to my kids, but it was 100% the greatest day of my life. So they're accurate, and it's still more to come because now they've got to prepare and turn the page and get ready for what could be the next biggest day of their life, and that's winning a Big Ten championship.
You just spoke with Coach Harbaugh, and we appreciate the timing, John, when you join us as well. What was his mood today?
He's focused. Obviously, still excited on Saturday, excited about the fans rushing the field and all of the excitement surrounding this past weekend. Is very focused on the next game because while they can't take away what happened last Saturday, it all builds up to winning a Big Ten championship, and that's what's at hand. And this team is focused. They're ready to turn the page. The coaching staff is focused, and that focus is all going to have to be generated by Jim Harbaugh as a leader. He's turning that page, and everyone else is going to follow suit.
He made a comment. I was covering the game, but he made a comment about it almost feels like a new beginning. Is that what it does?
Well, it's a new beginning because of, it puts to rest some of the question marks surrounding him, the program, this team, and it certainly can be a new beginning because you get a chance to win a Big Ten championship. Maybe you get a chance to go and play in the college football playoffs, and who knows what happens. But, that last Saturday was a huge recruiting day. And don't think it doesn't matter that you beat Ohio State And those recruits got a chance to see what Michigan football is all about, the environment, from the tailgates to the fans to just everything that makes up and makes college football special. But for what we know here in Ann Arbor, makes it what we think as good as it gets in college football.
They also physically ran the ball down Ohio State's throat. Now, Oregon did that, and then Ohio State got in a role where they could just outscore people. But they ran the ball down their throat. They dominated the tempo and even won a high-scoring game, which I didn't know if they could. How impressive was that?
Well, it was as a former offensive lineman, when I watched that game, that was as dominating performance that I've seen from an offensive line in over a decade here at Michigan. And that builds confidence, obviously, with them. It builds confidence offensively. And both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive lines, both dominated the line of scrimmage. And when you can do that, and that was basically the recipe for beating Ohio State. And there was no secret about it going in. If you can possess the ball offensively, take some time off the clock, and continue to get first downs and respond when they score, that's what you've got to do. Because if you're getting first downs and you're taking time off the clock, then their playmakers, their best athletes, which are the three receivers, Travion Henderson, C.J. Stroud, they're on the sidelines and they can't affect the game.
John Jansen with us 2 days after Michigan beats Ohio State and now Iowa in the Big Ten Championship. You mentioned in a lot of ways what Harbaugh's focus is and what it meant to so many people. What is it like now for him? Yes, there's going to be another game and another game and another game, but what does it, you think, mean to him? He's always been a very confident person, but how can we even put into words the relief he must feel?
You know what? Jim Harbaugh is, I think everybody would say this as well, he's a different guy. And is there some sense of confidence in beating Ohio State and, winning the Big Ten East? Sure. But he is a coach that is tremendously focused on what's next. And he knew as much as anybody the shortcomings that the program has had since he's been here. And that's, that there is relief in that, but it's on to the next challenge. It's winning a Big Ten championship. It's, competing for a national championship and eventually winning one. If that comes this year, great. If not, what is it that we need to do? What tweaks do we need to make that a possibility? He's always a guy that's on to what is next. It doesn't revel in what is in the past.
John, Iowa was an underdog at Nebraska. We know Nebraska's story. You saw them against Michigan in a game that was very competitive. They just can't win right now. They've lost the feeling of having to win. But Iowa wins the West because Wisconsin loses to Minnesota. What does Iowa bring to the table? They're 10-2, but a lot of people don't seem to think they're that good. But again, we know they've been a very solid program with Kirk Ferentz, kind of the guru of long-term coaching staffs.
Well, there's a lot of people around the country that would be very happy to be not as good as a 10-win team.
Yeah.
And so it's. I know that their two losses, they're painful losses. They cost them, and it's been basically because their offense has been inconsistent. Now you put, Brian Ferentz, their offensive coordinator. You put Coach Ferentz, and you make that team focused on one single game. They've got playmakers, Tyler Goodson in the backfield, whoever they put at quarterback, whether it's Padilla or Petrus, they're going to go out there and play the best game that they've ever played. Tyler Linderbaum, their center, I think is far and away the best offensive lineman in the country, bar none. And so they've got guys over there that are qualified, that are determined, and they're going to put together their best game of the season. And I'm excited to see these two programs, and you mentioned the consistency that Coach Ferentz has played with, has coached with, the way he develops talent. You can never underestimate him or his program or any team that he's coaching.
I asked what it meant to Michigan and everybody attached to the program. What does it mean? Because Ohio State had run off a bunch of streaks under Ryan Day. And we know how good they were with Urban Meyer. That the Wicked Witch was slayed. It's been a great division with Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State, and Ohio State. What does it mean to the Big Ten?
Well, I think the Big Ten East is by far the toughest division in college football, especially with Mel Tucker now over in East Lansing. He's got a 10-win season, and it's his first full year of coaching there. He gets a new 10-year contract. James Franklin at Penn State, he's been an outstanding recruiter and has been to Indianapolis. Now you got Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. You've got Ryan Day in Ohio State. Last year, Indiana came up. I know they were a little bit off this year, but you've got a division in college football that is so competitive that when you come out of it, when you go to the Big Ten championship game or you get a chance to play in the college football playoffs, there is no team that has been tested more than whoever comes out of the Big Ten East, and I think it's outstanding.
Did you sleep better Saturday night, Sunday night?
Hell, I haven't slept yet. I'm not going to sleep until after. I don't even know if I'll be able to get a few winks in after the Big Ten championship game. The amount of excitement around Ann Arbor and around Michigan football, it's been so long that I don't want to miss a minute of it. And I'm so excited for these players. They have given their hearts and souls to the fans, to this university. I'm so excited that again they get a chance to experience the finer things in life.
John, thank you so much for your insight. Just got off the phone you did with Jim Harbaugh. Michigan beats Ohio State. Iowa this Saturday for the Big Ten Championship. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Man, that was fun listening to John. You could hear it in his voice, the former Michigan All-American. He had just talked to Jim Harbaugh and now was on with us. By the way, coming up next, we're going to open the line up to you. We're going to go 3 to 5 minutes with either calls or text or chat, and then my conversation one-on-one with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Letters to Santa. That's one of the featured events right now with Discover Woodway. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information. Here's the bottom line. Santa's elves dropped off a magical mailbox all the way from the North Pole. Tell your kids, grandkids, tell your moms and dads and grandparents about this. It means that it's time to write letters to Santa. The pavilion to pick up a postcard from the mailbox, write a letter to Santa, drop it inside the mailbox. Make sure you leave a return address just in case Santa can find some time in his busy schedule to write you back. This is great for the kids. Maybe for you. Pavilion at the Arboretum, open, by the way. The hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. They have had a lot of those concerts that I've told you about and promoted, and some of you have actually been there as well. But right now, all the way up until Christmas Eve, letters to Santa. This is one of my favorite times of the year. Hopefully it is for some of you as well, unless you're Paul Catalina. We know who he is. The Grinch who stole Christmas. But if you want to make somebody's day, letters to Santa Claus, discoverwoodway.com.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Bird Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Bird Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sikkim Bears.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads. Crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Dave Smith remains in the game. Here is Smith, head down and in. Abram Smith with his first touchdown of the game.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, about a 3 to 5 minute opening here with text, chat, call or two, and then my conversation, pretty lengthy conversation with Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda. We have covered it all as much as we can. We even mentioned that my favorite baseball team, Craig's favorite baseball team, then Paul covers them too. The Rangers have put that over $500 million on Corey Seager and Simeon today.
They're Pete Catalina's favorite baseball team.
Pete Catalina's favorite baseball team. We've mentioned men's basketball, the new top 10, top 5, top whatever, and a lot of things the NFL will get to as well later in the show today. Dean Blevins, who's the host of the Lincoln Riley Show in Oklahoma City in Norman, is now was on the set last night being told there was a delay for Lincoln Riley, and then all of a sudden someone walked in the door and said, he's not coming. He's gone.
He's now the host of the Bob Stoop Show again for at least a little while.
I'm going to tell you how professional Dean Blevins is. I wouldn't have sat around for 5 hours waiting on Lincoln Riley. Mm-hmm. I mean, he sat around for 5 hours. He was told that Lincoln was running late, which you had to think at the time was probably odd given what had unfolded the night before. And then he was told, he's running late, he's going to be there. And Dean sat around for legitimately hours until being told that Lincoln just wasn't going to be there at all. And, by the way, he's not going to be here ever again because he's now the Southern Cal head coach. So, what a weekend that was. And, I think that the coach show is probably frustrating. Sunday mornings right after a Saturday night like that. I mean, that's probably tough, but yeah, an even tougher Sunday than normal.
All right, Paul.
All right, let's go to, before we go to Dave Aranda, let's go to Philip in Atlanta. Philip, thank you for holding.
Hey, football coach.
Hey, Philip, thanks for holding. You're on the Bet US caller line.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm sorry about that. I was expecting to get in. Okay, question. With the Big 12, Oklahoma State and Baylor being on top of the Big 12, does the Big 12 come out on top of this whole conference realignment thing, with Texas and Oklahoma being so at the end of things?
Do they come out on top? They are damn sure a lot better shape than people could have ever realized, and they did that quickly. Bob Bowlesby was the ninja, even though there's a lot of people that don't like him and are upset with him and whatever else, and for rightfully so. But he was the ninja. They're in pretty good shape. But if Oklahoma State or Baylor wins it, and they will, one of the two, and if Oklahoma State can make the playoff, yeah, and if Cincinnati does, it can only, Brigham Young, what they're doing, Houston, it has to help. Is it replacing Texas and Oklahoma as far as logos? No. But it sure is a hell of a lot better than where they were that day in late July.
Yeah, I don't think it puts them on top of anything because, the SEC is going to be that top conference, and then just money-wise. And even right now, teams-wise, you got the Big Ten obviously is having a lot of success. But I think the Big 12 is right there and kind of have been flirting with being that third conference. I know the ACC's got, big money and all of that too. But I think the Big 12's in a really good spot. I think they're moving forward into an interesting era where obviously you're going to not have your two big blue bloods. But I do think, as I wrote on the website, that Baylor and Oklahoma State have the opportunity to really take advantage of this situation. I think they both, if they can maintain their stability, have a chance to take a step forward as programs and take away Oklahoma and Texas, and the opportunities just grow for teams like that. So I don't think it puts them on top of anything, but I definitely think it strengthens them. And the new teams coming in, the successes that they're having. Now, granted, UCS got to get better than they have been this year. BYU and Cincinnati have been good, but who's the other team I'm missing? But Houston's been really good as well. So 3 of the 4, it's been a little bit more of an up and down year for UCF. But I think they'll be fine in the long run. I'm excited about it. It's going to be different not seeing Oklahoma and Texas, but I think the 4 coming in, for at least right now, are all obviously on very solid footing. Baylor's, on solid footing at the moment. Oklahoma State's playing really well. A lot of reason for optimism at K-State, despite that ugly, just inexcusable loss in Austin on Saturday, and so on. So, yeah, I don't think they're on top of anything, but I definitely think they're a lot sturdier than we ever could have imagined when the news broke this summer. And I think there's a lot to like about the future Big 12, from just the teams that are remaining to the teams that are coming in and the combinations that you can get out of those.
254-339-1122, the number to call, 254-339-1122. Couple of Oklahoma State fans upset we're going to have Dean Blevins on. Is he the most popular guy for an Oklahoma State fan? No.
But we're not talking about Oklahoma State.
We're talking about Lincoln Riley as his reaction as somebody that was on a set waiting for Riley. He didn't show. The show, of course, canceled, and getting his perspective. We will have a couple of former Oklahoma State greats this week on the show. So just calm down.
Yeah.
You have had a great run and have a week coming up against Baylor. We will be all freaking over it, and at AT&T Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah, and congrats to the Cowboys on that win. We haven't even talked about it at all. But, yeah, what an incredible win.
We brought it up, but not specifically.
Yeah, but what an incredible win for Oklahoma State. I mean, to fight back like they did, to shut out Oklahoma in the second half. It was just an incredible atmosphere. And, man, I mean, you talk about feeling the pain of years gone by and just how one-sided that rivalry's been and what that looked like he was going to turn into on Saturday night, and to not allow that and to instead – strap down on defense and make a couple plays on offense. Just hats off to Mike Gundy and the job that he's done this year. They far exceeded. I thought they were going to be good, but I didn't expect them to be in the position of maybe making the playoff, and yet here they are. I think it should be one hell of a game on Saturday. I know Baylor wasn't excited about the way that they played in Stillwater the last time around. And we'll see. I think Baylor needs Gary Bohannon back this weekend in a major, major way. Don't know how that's going to look, but hopefully he is back, because that would make for a better game in my opinion, and I think Baylor will need him. But, yeah, nothing but positives to say about Oklahoma State and what they're doing right now.
All right. I had a chance to sit down with Baylor head coach David Aranda, as I do every other Monday. He does a media session and then gives me probably about 12 to 15 minutes. On many things, and yes, I did bring up the fact that he has a commandment. Don't let outside noise in the program or acknowledge it, and he's had to do that a little bit when people have asked him about the coaching situation, LSU or whoever else. I've asked him, so others. Today at the media session, he was asked. Here's my conversation with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda.
Baylor football coach Dave Aranda with me on Sikkim 365 Radio. You're in the championship game. 10-2, Oklahoma State. I know you just answered some questions about Oklahoma State. What does it say about this program? Second time in 3 years, despite a coaching change. Not to mention what they've been done after other coaching changes with Coach Riles to Coach Rule to you. What does it say about Baylor football's resiliency?
Yeah, I think you could go even further out and just go and just Baylor athletics or just Baylor University. I think, from that perspective, you're seeing people and you're valuing people, and people have a voice, and they're being valued, and I think that enables the better player to emerge when that's happening. I think there's plenty of examples of just our team particularly, but I guess my point is that I see it happening throughout the landscape here at Baylor. But just kids that learning to trust, learning to own their story, not run away from maybe something that they're not proud of or they're not sure of, but kind of just coming to grips with it, accepting it, and then working to get better from it. I think when that happens, their feet are in the ground, they're looking at you in the eye, and what's funny is they start playing better on the grass as well, and so I see that happening throughout, and I think one of the things that makes Baylor special.
You said the word trust. I had somebody that is on staff tell me that he loves being at Baylor, not just because of Baylor. He loves how being with you, being with Dave Aranda. Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like it to be like that. I think, I feel like we're still trying to build that. I feel like for me, just all of the trials and tribulations that come out there or that come about in college football. I think just trying to be real, man, and not take out stuff unnecessarily on people that have nothing to do with the angst or the anger or the whatever you're feeling. I think I don't know. I've just been so many programs where it's just there's people that are throwing around unresolved trauma to other people, and everyone's walking around like that ain't happening. It's crazy, man. Yeah. And so I think to really be intentional about not being like that and seeing football as a way to be better. I think it takes a strong commitment to it, because I think we're raised for to love the intensity of stuff, not the consistency of stuff. And I think the way that we're trying to do it is consistency over that intensity, and I think it's it takes a belief and a buy-in, and that takes time.
It didn't surprise me, but it almost blew me away when we asked you. I think someone asked you about, in fact, I brought up about the younger coaches that might be moving on, and you gave them the trust. Mm-hmm. You trusted them during the week, and when you're playing against a program that they're going to be working for. Mm-hmm. You're so unique with that.
I don't know. If we didn't do that, then it'd be like all the stuff that we're doing is like BS, And so I just think when you go through it with those guys, and a lot of respect for them, and I've seen their growth, and I've seen like their heart, man, like how much it means to them and how much they love Baylor and the kids on this team, because they've been through a lot with them. And when you see them like up early in the morning, or you see them late at night, having wars with the copier or the printer's not working, and they're doing all that, how much it means to them. And so they're just trying to, they finally have their break, and they want to have one last ride with their team. And, unfortunately for them, it's versus, this particular team, but, you want what's best for them, especially when they go about their business the right way.
You talk about the opportunities for young coaches. What was it like when you told Caleb Collins, and I know he's been coaching the outside linebackers from almost immediately after Coach McGuire left. What was that like to see a young coach get that next level? You've been there before.
Yeah, he was way excited, and he's gonna get married here in a minute and start up his deal, and so I'm way happy for him. Caleb is someone that has got a heart of gold, that has got a real learner mindset, and wants to improve and wants to get better, and all of that matters, and he's always open to new ways and better ways, and he's a great teacher already. I think he's one of the better teachers probably on our staff, and I just think I think the ceiling is going to be really high for him. I think after all the excitement and everything, we talked about, hey man, like this is, so now here's the levels where you can get better, and here's what you can do, and he's all about that. And so just his the mindset, the way it's hooked up is strong, and good things are going to happen to him.
You've coached in the Big Ten. You've coached in the SEC. You saw what defense is like in the SEC, although the scores are getting crazy in that conference like it used to be in the Big 12. Now you've been here for a couple of years, and we've seen the change. Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas State, others, TCU under Patterson until early this year. Defense, Oklahoma State. What's the difference between defense in this conference compared to what you saw in your time in the SEC?
I think in the SEC it was more, guys with a lot of stars kind of simplifying stuff so they could just kind of do their stuff. I think it was a lot of that, and matchups and that, whether it be front people, trying to, development of skill, get them on a mismatch, let them go. Don't do a bunch of stuff, mess them up, let them do what they do. And then same with coverage guys, same principle. I think the difference here is there's still a fair amount of star guys that are doing the work, but there's more scheme, the twisting and the stunning and the gap exchanging and the pressure packages in this league are twice as much as the other one. And then I think coverage-wise, there's much more variation. The SEC was a lot of man, and we were a lot of man in that league. And this league is very little man, and more of here's a shell. One plate's 3 deep, the next plate's 2 deep, the next plate's drop 8, and so it's much more of a chess match here than it was there.
You're going to be in another game. This is a grind. Everybody wants to be in another game. And now you're here, and Baylor's been through this before. What is it, more of a physical or mental grind to get back up again and yet again? You want to be here, you're glad to be here, but which is more taxing this week?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you would like it to be, you would probably like it to be the physical piece if you had to choose, or if I had to choose. I think, coming from our last game versus Tech, and our performance and our prep into that, I think, we need to be on the rise from that game, and there needs to be some probably some frustration / anger / this ain't good enough going into this one. So I would like to see a bounce and a more realization of we're not here to play up and down to people. We're here to play our standard, and so to get back on it, you know. And so I think from that perspective, our mindset should be we're going to need to demand it, that it's in a good spot. I think, you know, I think just football in general, but college athletes more specifically, it's difficult, man, to keep the outside stuff from getting on the inside. And then I think it's, you know, if you have them long enough, you can get it to where there's some sort of a filtering system of what's real and what's not. And I think, you know, the better teams can do that because now their standard is the standard regardless. And, you know, we're not there yet. And so we're going to continue to pound away at that thing. But I think that will be something that eventually separates us. But for this one, we got to get back to the standard.
You have kind of a commandment, I don't know if you do, about outside noise getting in, and you've handled the questions about coaches, coaching jobs, etc. You've talked to me about it as well. If in fact you discuss it, does that admit you're allowing outside noise inside your program, which is a no-no?
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult. I think the times that I've brought it up have been, well, it's already inside. They're already talking about it, so then I kind of bring it up. But I think, you know, it's a tough position to be in because I think you can say something and no one believes you. so it's like, you know, it's tough. I think people, I don't know, I've always been accustomed to not talking for a reason. Mm-hmm. This would kind of fall into one of those categories, but I think, you know, I think it's difficult. I think people I think there's been enough people that have done things a certain type of way to where now there's a belief of like, this is how things are done. And then I think everyone else is kind of, you know, is piled into that category, which, you know, is unfortunate.
There's a PTSD among Baylor fans, mm-hmm. but at the same time, you've mentioned this is a fit. Can you be who you are elsewhere? Or is this what you mean, that this place allows you to truly be who you always are?
Yeah, I think Baylor, there's definitely, you know, a Christian perspective and a even probably broader than that, just a belief that it's bigger than the sport, that the development of you as a human being and you becoming the best version of you is very important. And I think just that view of itself by itself is an off-ramp for me to talk about the things that I really value and believe. And I think if it's all about, you know, the final destination, right, and it's all about the outcome and these, you know, the belief in a greater power, your ability to transcend who you are now to who you want to be. If there wasn't those things being talked about at Baylor and it was just about, hey, we want to win this number of whatever, then I think, you know, to me it's not worth it. And so I think that, you know, it's a great fit here. You know, my favorite moments are when we're having discussions with leadership councils in our freshman class, just on life and things outside of football. Just the teaching part of it is the part that I really enjoy the most, and so it's a great fit.
I'll wrap it up with this: Berenstein Bears. Mm-hmm. The Velveteen Rabbit was what you brought up to Joel Klatt. He even mentioned he's never had a coach bring that up before. Mm-hmm. Are you going to go on some sort of like children's book tour? No. You can come up with some of the most amazing analogies at times.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I you know, there's times where, and this is the truth, and you know, there's times where I start to feel comfortable enough in my own skin where I think I'm kind of like with the group, and then I'll say something, and pretty immediately it's like, I probably shouldn't have said that, man. I probably shouldn't. I can see the look, and it's like, yeah, that's why you don't really say a lot of stuff. And so
people love that.
Yeah, I know. I've always believed all that. Like, I think I used to read that story, and so it always hit me. But it is true. I've talked about that with the team, and for me to bring that up with them, and there not to be smirking, at least to my face, or smirking, or jokes and all that, and for there to be like feedback on how this relates to them and how they see it or don't see it, and all of it, I was like, way cool. And you just tell just the growth, because that was something I've always believed and held, but I wasn't going to bring it up last year or any point earlier in the year because we weren't there yet.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Baylor head coach Dave Aranda, Sikkim 365 Radio.
All right, that's Dave Aranda from earlier today. A chance to visit with him one-on-one. A quick hit with Dean Blevins, former Oklahoma quarterback, KWTV in Oklahoma City and television, and also host of what was the Lincoln Riley Show. Dean, thanks for your time. I know it's a crazy day. Have you ever been in any kind of situation like you faced yesterday evening?
Well, I remember when we broke the Coach Switzer resigning that day, and that would be the only thing that compared to it, not even Bob Stoops leaving early and handing the keys to Lincoln. It was totally unexpected because Oklahoma felt like it was in good position, that there was nothing to the LSU thing. And they literally, I'm at a press conference now, the athletic director, Joe Castiglione, Stoops, president of the school, saying they literally knew nothing about USC until I think it was Saturday night, very, very late, and Lincoln won, or Sunday morning, and Lincoln asked to be able to speak to USC, and so they got a call back from Lincoln 3 hours later and said he was leaving. So the word blindside has been used by not only me and other media members, but it was used by the president of the school and others today. They appreciate Lincoln. He's a fantastic coach, but it's a complete stunner and puts them and the program in a miserable position.
So how do they respond past Bob Stoops as the interim? Do you think they can talk Bob into staying, or do they go outside?
They've already asked Bob, and he said no. They will probably name a coach definitely within the next 2 weeks. I'm thinking a week or 10 days. There's speculation, former defensive coordinator and defensive coordinator at Clemson, or at OU, and then at Clemson, Brent Venables was actually in town. It's one of those deals. Well, we saw the plane at the airport, and he was going to come over and be introduced today. That turned out not to be true. The bottom line, what I got from all of the press conference and talking to Bob and everyone that movers and shakers around here, is that because of the strong position that Stoops is taking in this in regard to he's already recruiting for them, he's trying to keep players here, et cetera. Because of that, that allows Castiglione a little bit more time to go after a big fish. A couple of big fish have called that would surprise people. Joe told me he doesn't know if they'll be there at the end, but they've had unbelievable inquiry about the job, and so I think something will come a little bit later than we initially thought, because we all thought that something would come today or within a week for sure because of recruiting. If things go south, you don't have any players. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. Current players talking about leaving, recruits. Many have already said they're leaving. Then there's the opt-outs, and then, it can be barren. So I think they've got a strong guy in Stoops that gives them comfort and has put a strong face and some pride back to the fans with the way he was today.
Dean, how much of a concern is there amongst the OU faithful about this being a bit of a dangerous fork in the road, and the fact that they have to nail this hire, or else they're looking at the potential, of course, with all the moving parts of really a grave misstep and struggling these next few seasons if they don't hit this hire the right way?
Well, I mean, that is the concern. I think there's anger anytime you have something like this happen, whether it's justified or not. Fans are just angry about it because Lincoln Riley did a poor job of coaching this year. I mean, he was didn't show up at the press conferences, had no reason for it. The Baylor week, his team was not focused. They looked terrible in the Baylor game. And then they come back and play decent against Iowa State. Then the other night, there were distractions, and that team had 14 penalties called on them. There were 12 that were accepted by OSU, and their special teams looked like they were in grade school. So it was so unlike any Stoops or Riley team that we've ever seen. This has been a disjointed thing for a long, long time, and a lot of it is yet to be defined. But there's serious, serious concern. The big press conference here statewide today settled people down some. And I think the faith that people have in Joe Castiglione's hires throughout the years, it's remarkable who he's brought in, that they are banking on him doing that again and accepting whatever losses are out there right now, mostly in terms of players, but quickly getting back to moving forward.
Dean, I know you got to go. You gave us some time we didn't think you were going to be able to have, so thanks for your time. Good luck going forward. I know it's going to be a crazy day.
You betcha. And you got a great coach there. I have no idea how much validity there is to him being on a list or what that means. But I hope if he doesn't become OU's next coach, he stays there with you guys forever. He's awfully impressive.
Thank you, Dino. Appreciate it. Dean Blevins with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. And I've seen the list of names. It's the ones who are have already been looked at and those who are staying and whatever. The Venables thing obviously has some fire to it among some others. Dean Blevins from, again, the Lincoln Riley show, the Oklahoma coaches show, and former OU quarterback.
Well, Venables has been in the water for a while as an assistant, and people keep asking. He skipped over Kansas State a couple years ago, didn't really jump into that one. So if you're waiting for a big one, this is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, it's as big as you're going to really get at this point. I mean, they don't seem to be linked right now to any other what I would call giant names. But then again, Dean just said that there's a couple of, big names out there that have potentially already shown their interest. Who that would be, obviously very interested to find that out. I mean, one thing that's circulating right now quite a bit, at least online, and look, you got to be careful with that because we had the whole LSU Lincoln Riley thing, remember? And then that turned out to be something completely different. But a lot of talk about LSU and Brian Kelly right now, or at least LSU being interested in Notre Dame's head coach. So, yeah, I mean, it's that LSU job and that Oklahoma job, very curious to see kind of how that all plays out. And until those jobs are filled, Baylor fans are just going to have to get used to Dave Aranda's name still being mentioned no matter what. Like you said, I mean, he could say something, but it's not going to matter because nobody's going to believe him anyway. So that speculation will just continue. But I feel good about Aranda, and I think it's, like Mac Rhodes said last week, a compliment to the program that just a year removed from 2-7, he's now being mentioned for, at least in the rumor mills, for every major job that's opened up so far. So, I don't know if the Venables thing is true or not, but if it's him, that's not a bad move, although I'm not, completely all in on it, convinced that it would be a successful move. There's a lot of unknowns there with Brent Venables. He's never been a head coach. Can he recruit at a high level? Can he recruit quickly enough to get them in line and get them right for next year? That's where the benefit of the transfer portal comes in. But I brought up the quarterbacks earlier. Tell me how you feel about this if you're an Oklahoma fan. So you look at your quarterback spot right now. Spencer Rattler's announced today that he's transferred.
Right. Caleb
Williams hasn't made a decision. He's going to go to USC with Lincoln Riley. Is there any way he doesn't go to USC with Lincoln Riley?
No.
He's from California. It would be crazy if he didn't. So that would leave on their roster right now Tanner Schaefer, a redshirt senior, so he's gone. And he's a walk-on anyways. Michael Bowens, a redshirt freshman. Ben Harris, a walk-on freshman from Midwest City, Oklahoma. A walk-on by the name of Ralph Rucker. A walk-on Spencer Jones. I mean, that's it. That's their quarterback room.
Well, the other one was Tanner Mordecai.
Chandler Morris.
Chandler Morris, and et cetera.
But they can't go back.
Caleb Williams is from Washington, D.C.
That's right. Yeah.
But
I was thinking of Bryce Young and all those guys.
You know who he's tied into. We know who he's tied into.
Well, now that he's in the water, the one I would expect to see the new coach target would be either Dylan Gabriel or Miles Brennan to come in there and start. Dylan Gabriel from UCF and Miles Brennan from LSU. Those appear to be the two biggest names of guys that would be starter ready. Now, are they Caleb Williams? No. But they're better than the guys you have in the roster. And whatever true freshman and JUCO guy is going to come in, that's going to be, there's an open door quarterback at Oklahoma right now. And, of course, they didn't see this coming. And
and their quarterback room doesn't have any incoming freshmen.
No, because they just lost their commitment.
Because they just lost the commitment. And then, on top of that, was it Nelson's the class of 2023, right? The kid from California. And most likely he ends up somewhere.
And that's the thing, too, with Lincoln Riley. You're right. I got Caleb Williams wrong. He is a D.C. kid. But, I mean, you look around at the number of California quarterbacks, and even just stick with the West Coast, and even look towards Hawaii and the quarterbacks that are coming off the islands that are playing throughout college football. I mean, they're all right there on that side of the country, and Lincoln Riley can just stay pat right there. And, Bryce Young doesn't end up going to Alabama. He goes to USC instead, right? And so on and so forth. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Lincoln Riley, and this is a very touchy situation for Oklahoma. I mean, they cannot afford to get this hire wrong. I'm not trying to make it too serious, but it's just true. I mean, you are inbound into the SEC, and the way you're set up right now with Riley being gone, your quarterback room depleted, and who knows how much else damage that's going to be done to the roster between now and next season. They not only have to hit the hire hard, but that guy is going to have to just do some miracle work to get them to a point next year where they're still playing at a similar level. And that's going to be way harder or way easier said than done.
Well, one thing we've seen before, but there was no early signing day when Matt Rule was hired in 2017. Actually, at the end of 16, Baylor had Jalen Petrie, who's about to be an All-American defensive back. He was the only commitment, and he stuck through it while others just gone. And again, the coaching staff that was there under Briles, that was dead men walking, they weren't recruiting because what were they going to tell the kids? They still pieced together a class that ended up with, I believe, Abram Smith, Charlie Brewer, RJ, you brought this up, RJ Sneed, Terrell Bernard, among some others. They put together one hell of a class. Some of them that Baylor had been recruiting before, but they did a pretty darn good job.
Treston Ebner, R.J. Sneed, Terrell Bernard, Jalen Petrie. I mean, all those guys you mentioned, and plus Ebner, and I mean, they didn't hit on half that class, but the half they did hit on was pretty damn good, and they're in line to win a Big 12 championship this weekend. So, I mean, it can be done. You can build the foundation for the future if you hit right. But, man, it's a short amount of time to do so. I mean, it's a huge challenge. I mean, the timing of it all, that's what makes it so complicated. I mean, the loss of Riley being as big as he is one thing, but the timing, that's where – I mean, visits are happening this week. Bob Stoops is out recruiting for Oklahoma now, and he's not going to be the next head coach. So, it's a hard situation to be in, but Joe Castiglione is a great AD, so we'll see what happens.
When we come back, we have a couple of notes on college football. Which of the rivalry games over the weekend was the one that you think was the biggest wow factor? Michigan? Was it Oklahoma State? And I know if you're a fan of one of the teams, that's who you're going to go with. Was it Alabama and Auburn in that finish? What a weekend. We haven't even discussed some of the games because everything that's happened since then, but we will, and that's what we're here for. And thanks to those of you watching and also listening to us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and back in a moment. Ideal MRI, good friend Dr. Rob Maxey from day one, a part of this show. Their logo and graphic behind us because they're a title sponsor of what we do and have been since April the 6th of 2020. And thank you, Dr. Rob Maxey, Al LeBlanc, and the great group of Texan specialists inside of their business. Their business is an MRI machine, state-of-the-art technology. They could help save you hundreds and maybe in some cases thousands of dollars because their average MRI, the highest cost of an MRI with them is $497 or less. And they'll also help you with the insurance paperwork as well to make it better. Average MRI is $1,100. If you have something in your shoulder, your knee, wherever it is that bothers you so much, it keeps you from functioning, sleeping, working, whatever, contact Ideal MRI. Tell your doctor about Ideal MRI. They know about IdealMRI.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. easy to fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now's the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
Christmas is the biggest time of year for engagements. You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Oklahoma and LSU fans, a couple of them mentioned, of course, that Dave Aranda's on our shopping list. I want a Mercedes-Benz myself. I can't afford one, not that you can't, both of you could. I'm telling you right now, Dave Aranda's going nowhere. And that's just, again, something we've been talking about for at least solidly for a week, if not for quite some time.
Yeah, I know that you're very confident in that. I have to say, one thing that I've learned following college football over the years is never say never. Dave Aranda could have told you, I will never leave this place, and I would still have a hint of pessimism about it, and that's nothing against him. That's just simply the business. I mean, you know, it's simply the business. Look at the Lincoln Riley situation, for one. I mean, never say nevers. But, no, I feel good about Aranda. I'm not sitting here worried about it or nervous about it or anything like that. I'm not foolish enough to think that he's never going to leave Baylor, but I just think the timing right now, he's in a good spot. I mean, and it's not only the fact that OU and Texas leaving could actually be a beneficial thing to where you are currently, but I don't know if that's what he desires, is the spotlight of LSU. I don't know. I can't speak for him, but I'm not worried about it right now. I think he's doing a great job at Baylor, and but I am fascinated. I mean, I totally understand why LSU and OU fans would want Dave Aranda. I would too if I was them. But there's also a lot of other candidates. Let's see this Brian Kelly stuff, how quickly that's stamped out or not for LSU, as Scott Woodward just has to have the big name. So who knows how many he'll strike out on before maybe he does give Dave Aranda a call if he hasn't already. And for Oklahoma, obviously Aranda's name's been thrown around, but Matt Rule and Brent Venables and whoever else you want to throw into that mix, it's crazy. It's crazy that we're in it was crazy last week when USC was still open and Oklahoma wasn't, but just that whole Lincoln Riley turn of events, I don't even think we've emphasized enough how crazy that was. That was insane, the turn of the less than 24 hours to go from the build up to Bedlam, and knowing because of Baylor's, by the skin of their teeth, ugly win over Texas Tech and on an ugly day in Waco, we knew that Bedlam suddenly had more oomph to it. And for it to turn into the crazy game that it did, and Oklahoma State to make that comeback, and then Caleb Williams to not have enough energy to complete the final run. It looked like he was going to break free and score, and it's like he ran out of gas and he couldn't go anymore. But, that kid nearly pulled it off again. And for all of that didn't turn into a loss, and then his LSU answer in the post game, and to think that everything's okay, and then boom, Sunday, here's USC out of nowhere. Just crazy. And the reason why so many people love college football, but why Oklahoma fans right now are like, this is why I hate college football.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I want to say this about college football, and I when it comes to details of contracts in the NFL, Paul, I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not. College football wants to be the NFL. That's what you're going to, the bigger, better, stronger. Even the Blue Bloods have their own separate island or whatever it might be. But the NFL, and I get the transfer portal, and I get being able to leave. And now you can do that without losing a year. It's a timeline. But the NFL, when you draft a player, how many years do you get them under contract?
5.
If it's a first-round pick?
First-round pick, and yeah.
Okay, but others, it's a 3 or 4 year contract. Yeah. And I know that they could also cut somebody's butt 3 months in the training, or 3 weeks in the training camp. I get that. But do you know that right now there's more free agent movement available in college football than there is in the NFL?
Yeah. It's way easier to just go, all right, I don't like it here, I'm going to go somewhere else. Now, you can only do that once without a headache, but even still.
Let me ask you this, okay? The coaching carousel next year, I wouldn't think would be as crazy as this one because, how could it possibly be? LSU, Oklahoma, US, there's no way, because you would have to have – you'd have to have Ryan Day leave Ohio State and Harbaugh leave Michigan, and so many other things happen to even match this. But for those big jobs that do open up next year, who's left? You're now down to let's bring Matt Rule back from the NFL, or let's go get the Baylor coach, or let's go get this guy or that guy. But there's only so many moves that can be made, and for all the fun and craziness that was created by these jobs opening up, you start to look around and you go there's not a ton of options out there that are proven anymore. You really look at where Oklahoma is right now. Sure, they could land Venables, but he's not a sure thing. They could land Matt Rule, but he's not a sure thing coming back. They could land Dave Aranda. I think he's a pretty sure thing, but I don't know that he'd want to go there. So, yeah, it's nuts. And there's just the coaching pool has been so diluted by all of these mass firings and hirings and switches and everything else that you're really left without a whole lot of tremendous experienced seasoned options at this point.
Washington, which is the lowest of the totem pole when it comes to the Blue Bloods, and if you want to consider them, they've won a national title. They're a big program. Florida, Oklahoma, LSU, and USC.
Yeah,
and that doesn't include TCU, of course, with Gary Patterson,
Virginia
or
Tech.
Texas Tech, or Virginia Tech, or what almost
SMU.
was all SMU, almost was Nebraska. Maybe they're the only ones with patience, or they just can't afford another move. Well, I think about the names of and we're not even done.
Yeah. Florida, Oklahoma, LSU, USC. That's crazy.
And I'll tell you, Washington and Florida have probably done the smartest thing in that go get the next wave of guys.
Yes.
Don't try to recycle. Billy Napier is the next wave. Kalen DeBoer, who's now officially the coach of Washington at Fresno State, he's the next wave. Do that. Don't jump into the bin.
Yeah,
and recycle.
I like that Washington didn't, try. I don't know what all they attempted before the DeBoer hire, but that seems to be a really solid, kind of floating under the radar type of a hire. Fresno State's been a solid program, so I like that. I think that's an interesting hire. It's not sexy necessarily like a Lincoln Riley, of course, but it's a hire that can get the job done, and that's all you really want when all is said and done is just somebody who can get the job done. So that one's not going to get probably the attention that some of the others will, of course, but good on Washington for just not taking a long time, knowing who they wanted, targeting that person, going and getting it done, and not fooling around with all this other, let's make a splash or let's get ratings for, as many retweets as possible. No, let's just go hire the right football coach, and that's Kalen DeBoer, and good on the Huskies for doing that, and I hope he's the right guy. I hope it's not another Jimmy Lake situation where you're regretting it shortly thereafter, but I think it will be. I think that's a really good hire.
All right, I've been told the Big 12 Championship, this is from Will Norris. We'll take a break and come back again with yet another guest, and it's going to be Phil Bennett, full throttle. Put your hair, light your hair with a match. Baylor, Oklahoma State, ticket prices have gone up 68% more than the previous Big 12 championship game when Baylor was involved against Oklahoma 2 years ago. Now, you can imagine the excitement from Stillwater. They haven't been in this game in a while, and there was a time when they were really good where there was no game. So you can imagine. In fact, Stillwater, I saw Cole Barber put this up, Oklahoma State has already bought out their allotment. There will be tons of orange, black and orange. Baylor fans are working on theirs as well. It could be a massive crowd because two teams, Baylor's been there 2 years ago, but two teams that are thrilled to be a part of that game. And it's not, and Oklahoma, if they were in the game again, it would be a pack with Crimson. We know that as well. So the ticket price, here we go. Ticket price, the get-in price is $84. That's pretty low, but most likely a ticket, the lower bowl is around $200. By the middle to the end of the week, that might, of course, go up maybe even another $100 or so. So that's just a little note about ticket prices for the game. All right, when we come back, we'll hear from Phil Bennett. North Texas beat previously unbeaten UT San Antonio. Man, this one tore me apart because love Jeff Traylor, but also absolutely know about Phil Bennett. He's been a part of the show, great friend of ours as well. Taylor Young, a part of that staff. He's next, and we won't just talk UNT. We'll talk football and college and much more. Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com, the 3-decade leader. Look, you can make odds on who the next Oklahoma coach is going to be, the next LSU coach. Those odds are out right now. You can make bets on things like that. Plus, college football, championship weekend, the NFL, really getting interesting, the NBA, college basketball, lots of great stuff going on to bet on. Sports all over the world, action all over the world, and that's at BetUS.com. So use our promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200. That's SICKM125 or SICKM200, 125% bonus on cash on your first deposit or 200% if you use cryptocurrency. So go to BetUS.com today.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality Study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
3, 2, 1, got it, and no flags. Isakpol is knocked free by Grayson Murphy. Big Green recover. Good recovery inside the 25-yard line.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, it has been a day, huh? The last 2 to 3 days in college football, the last 24 hours, the games on Saturday. We've discussed some of the huge rivalry games, and then we did mention North Texas became bowl eligible by beating previously unbeaten UT San Antonio, which has been one of the great stories in college football. There was a time when North Texas was 1-6. Seth Luttrell's name was in that he's on the hot seat. Their defensive coordinator and a great friend of the show, a longtime guest, former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I talked to Phil a little bit Saturday evening on the way up to Dallas, and Coach, I thought about this, and I told you this, and you mentioned there's a story about this, that you remind me of the 2012 Baylor football team that was dug deep in a hole midway through the season, and then all of a sudden you got hot.
Yeah, and it was very similar, Dave. Very similar. You know, we had injuries that year, and I'll never forget. We lost some guys. We got had some tough losses. Obviously, everybody remembers the West Virginia game. And at the end of the year, if you remember, I was thinking about this after we talked. You caught me on the bus at the stadium in San Diego, and you said, what a game, after we had beaten a very good UCLA team. And I told you, I said, we're going to win the thing next year. And you and I have talked about that, and we won in 13.
Phil, 1-6, most teams, you start thinking about, okay, how do I shuffle this lineup? Do I bring in some guys that might get ready for next year? What did you guys do that really shook things up and allowed you to finish so strongly?
Well, the first thing is our SMU game. We played SMU a hell of a game, our second game. We lost all 3 starting receivers, all 3.
And defensively, we lost 2 secondary guys and a defensive lineman. And so we were a little bit beat up. But, one of the things I thought Seth did a really good job of, we never changed our message. We kept the same message, and we worked, we competed. Now, we had to understand that we couldn't do the things we were doing offensively. And defensively, with me being new, we were evolving to finding the best players, where to put them, how to get them there. And, I think that there wasn't panic, much like we were in 12 there. We at the right time, we started getting kids back, and the kids who had replaced them had become valuable backups. So we started being able to really be able to play more guys. We had 4 backs that were really good players, and it helped us immensely down the stretch.
So, Coach, UTSA, I mean, they were unbeaten, had a lot of hype, had an emotional win the week before. What did you see in just preparation for them, and what was kind of the mindset throughout the week, knowing that there was a lot of attention on them and, the potential that they had, but there you guys were just kind of waiting in the wings?
Well, first of all, I'm a Jeff Traylor fan. I've known Jeff since he was a very young coach, know his brother, loved the family, and he has done a remarkable job at UTSA. I mean, hell of a football coach, has a really good staff. But I sort of thought, man, the UAB game was a huge game. And I thought, and I told our kids this, I said, they're coming off their biggest win they've probably ever had. And we have a chance, if we get out there and get the momentum early, and we were able to do that, and we were able to take advantage of it. And I still think what the job that they've done down there has been remarkable. You beat a Big Ten team, you beat a Memphis team who beat the SEC team in Mississippi State, and they are a resilient football team.
What does it mean to someone like Taylor Young, a young coach? You brought him in. I text Taylor Young. In fact, when I texted you as well, and I got a great response from him. What do you think it means to someone like him and others, the younger coaches?
Well, first of all, Taylor Young is a future star in coaching, and I hope here shortly he gets his opportunity. He's just, I think they see the grind, and they see that the non-panic, and it was always about the kids. I mean, we didn't blame. We didn't. We coached them hard, and I told them, I said, "You're gonna get our best every day." I said, "Don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat this team, because we're going to maximize what we're trying to do." And once we got, I laughed. I told them after we had a very close game against Liberty, probably should have won the game. We lost some kids with penalties on head to head, and it changed the game. But I told them, I said, we're on the 5-step rehab program, and they laugh about it, and they bought into it, and we evolved to it.
You mentioned Taylor may have an opportunity sometime soon. Is that going to be with you? Another different opportunity, or is that going to be?
Yeah, I think there could be a couple of different opportunities.
Okay.
I'm not at liberty to say, but just deserving guy. I mean, everything, and you know how I feel about him since he was at Baylor, and everybody that's been around him. Everybody is impressed with what he does and how he does it.
I got a question for you, if you don't mind. We saw what happened with Baylor's staff when Joey McGuire leaves mid-season. What are your thoughts about that as a guy who's been around this business for a long, long time, and how that turned out, and then to immediately be able to start trying to pick and cherry pick players that he recruited to the school he was at, and he won't be the last?
First of all, I was happy for Joey. I thought he did a tremendous job at Baylor. I've known him many years, and I don't believe, David, I've ever seen a situation like that before. I just think that it was unique. I think that I applaud Dave Aranda for the way he handled it. He could have gotten the media, made us think. We got guys taking our recruits, leaving here, but Dave chose not to do that. And at the same time, I know that Joey's loyalty has changed. And you and I have talked about it. Everybody said, people, when I'm around College Station, they say, man, how could you coach at Baylor and OU and Kansas State being an Aggie? Money changes your loyalty. and let's don't make any bones about that. And Joey had a program to try to build. So, I don't know the details of it, but I just like the way that Dave, and I'm sure it bothered him. I'm sure there's things that maybe he wished were handled different, but his focus stayed on his team, which is pretty good reflection of why they're where they're at right now.
What do you feel about the coaching cycle? This is one of the craziest ones ever, but because of coaches getting fired earlier and earlier, as a person that this is the profession you've chosen, it's already a rocky one. Even when you're doing well, sometimes you don't know what your footing is in this business. How do you feel about how this has started to transpire in coaching?
Well, I don't like it. I think that this is my issue. When I came up in the business, if you did a good job and your ADs knew coaches, and they could go out and they hired people that they knew, that they trusted, and nowadays, and there was always when I was at A&M, I'll never forget this. Emory Ballard used to tell me, he said, I got to please one guy, the local sports editor. His name was Jerry Wagner. I mean, one guy, and if Jerry wrote good things, most Aggies were happy. But nowadays, with the social media, the Twitter, everybody's got an opinion. And I'm disappointed in some of our administrative athletically that listen to them. I mean, I was so shocked last week when Skip Holtz got fired. Skip Holtz has done an unbelievable job at Louisiana Tech. And you know this, David, on a shoestring budget. And been to 7 straight bowl games, won 6, and he has a bad year, and he's gone. And the perception of how that happens, it bothers me. And I think that you get guys, and whether it's right or wrong, you got coaches. Texas Tech hadn't been to a bowl in 4 or 5 years, and their coach had them in a bowl, almost bowl eligible. I think they were 5-3. And he gets fired. And I just, people don't understand that there is no, Lincoln Riley. People get on Lincoln Riley. For whatever reason, Lincoln Riley saw something at USC that appealed to him. And I think it's a sign of the time. I don't like it, but I don't see it changing.
Phil, what did you think when you heard that Lincoln Riley news? Were you like everybody else and just blown away by the shock of it all?
I started laughing because I heard that statement after the state game when he said, first the question, he goes, listen, first thing I'm going to answer, I'm not going to LSU. Mm-hmm. But he sort of dealt a bitter card. Hell, he was going to USC. he just sort of, and everybody said, well, they're good. But, I think he looked, honest to goodness, I think he looked at what's happening at the SEC. There's going to be 3 divisions. And the way they were talking about spacing, I don't think he liked it. And I think he looked at USC. He was really wanted. Obviously, they catered to what he wanted. And his chance to go dominate the Pac-12 is going to be pretty good.
It's interesting. Can you imagine if you would have been that young reporter or just somebody that was there and said, okay, well, what about USC? And seeing the look on his face, he would have thrown up. Turned completely like a ghost.
You probably would be working for ESPN right now.
Yeah, no question. No. Hey, you mentioned that money can change you and all that. Dave Aranda's name's been up. He's a hot name right now for obvious reasons what he's done. It seemed like he is a great fit at Baylor, and I'm always of the opinion if Art had not been dealt with what happened in 2016, he might have been here forever, even though Texas and others were always kind of sniffing around wanting him.
I think you're exactly right. I think Dave has such an appreciation, and this is just me from afar. After last year, he took so many hits. he's a great coordinator. He's not a head coach. And then he goes out, really evaluates, restructures his staff, and he grew. And he also, he's got an AD that was willing to work with him. And he sees that. And why would you want to jump back? I've been at LSU. I can tell you it's a great place. But let's be honest, it's a highly volatile job, without question. Whether it's Les Miles, whether it's Nick Saban, Orgeron, it is a job that you never know from day to day. Baylor and what they have done, he hired Jeff. Jeff brought his people in. They've got it. It not only helped them on offense, it helped them on defense. Dave is in a comfort zone. He's got a strength coach there, and Vic, who is absolutely one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's a balanced guy. I mean, Dave doesn't need to be stroked every week. He doesn't need to be see his name in lights. He's a football coach, and that's what I've always liked about him.
Phil, I want to go back to, and you've talked about Jalen Petrie before, but here he is, along with some other key players, playing for a second Big 12 title in the last 3 years, having an opportunity to go out on a high note. He's a finalist for some awards, getting a lot of attention like the Thorpe. What do you recall about what you saw in him initially? Because we've talked about, him arriving at Baylor and all that, but what did you see in him? Because I remember he was not like the most heralded commit at the time. There was Kellen Mond and Baron Browning and all these other guys. But what was it about Jalen?
He wasn't even the most recruited guy at school.
Right, yeah.
I went down there with Kendall. We were looking at Heck Jones.
Yes.
And who went to A&M after we left. And I go down there, and I forget the coach's name. I think it's Coach Lousy or something. And he told me, he said, I got a guy, DB, that has had, and I watched him. I said, shit, he's good. and he was a great kid. Came to camp. And, Heck was, everybody wanted him. He was a sprinter, receiver. He was a golden guy. And Jalen, everybody we talked, I went to the school. Everybody at staff told me that he is the best player, best kid on this team. And I'll never forget when it all went down. I talked to him. I said, "You need to." And he didn't have. I'll be honest with you. I think he had knee surgery that year, and he didn't get a lot off. I said, "Stay with it." And it's been just watching him, and he is a fabulous player, but you can just tell he is just such a wonderful kid. It's been this heartfelt, warming to see him do what he's done.
Jim Thorpe, finalist. He's going to be an All-American, you would think. You want to hear how money can change you? This is from the Lincoln Riley contract details. $110 million, I don't know how many years. USC's buying both of his homes in Norman for about $500,000, the over asking $1 million bonus. Buying a $6 million home in LA for him. Unlimited use of the private jet 24/7 for family.
Wow. That'll be a lot of trips to Muleshoe, won't it?
Yeah. Yes, it will. Better get that airport
They're going to have to land in a pasture.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Lord, you always.
You ever recruit anybody out of Muleshoe, Phil?
I've been through there, but it was how fast I could get out.
Oh my God!
Hey, Coach.
Dave, it's once again, I don't begrudge anything for Lincoln doing that. There was something, his family, whatever the situation. But let's be honest, a lot of his staff are not going with him. He has all that. He's going to have a line coach that no longer is going to be 10 minutes from his family. He's going to have to drive hours a day. It just changes everything. And that's why these coaches who make these moves, they're to be commended. This business is changing fast. Yes, there is more money, but there's also, that comes at a cost. and that's one of the things that those guys will be dealing with.
Coach, I want to ask you about DeAndre Torrey, running back there for the Mean Green. Been following him because of doing the Earl Campbell Award the last few years, and he just seems like a tremendous back. I know that Ragsdale also had a big performance in the backfield for you guys in that win this Saturday. Can you just talk though about Torrey and what you've seen from him over the last season, and just what kind of a player is he? What kind of person is he?
Well, first of all, he is an absolute stud of a guy. I mean, he is a worker. You can't even get him to talk. I work with the returners. He's our kickoff and punt returner, and I can't get him. I call him D. Torrey. I said, I'm going to get you to talk to me. I mean, he's just a worker. He is dedicated. He's had, like I said, early on, he had some ankle injuries, and he never stopped. Every week he would come back, and he is just a guy. And I'm telling you, he's a guy that he reminds me of Dalton Hilliard from LSU. He could start and stop as good as anybody I've ever seen. He had a run on Saturday, and you guys ought to pull it up. It is absolutely fabulous. And he is he's strong, he's powerful, deceptive speed, and he is really and he's a leader by action. It's never about him. It's always about the team. And if he was to get in that upper echelon of the Earl Campbell Award, of course, I played and grew up with Earl, playing against him. We're the same age. That would be outstanding.
Hey, you're the defensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Well, of course you are. You look at the numbers from last year and the numbers from this year, and I know that sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. What did you do differently? And I know it didn't happen right away, but what did you do? What did you change?
As I told the kids, and it's exactly what I told them at Baylor. I said, this is going to be a journey. And I said, in any journey that you start, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. I said, but we have to, you've got to stick with the plan. And the thing I was so proud of, Smoak, is we got guys in the right place. We had, Jim was with me again, Jim Gush, and when we were struggling on offense, we weren't quite good enough to carry us, but we were getting better. And I didn't even know that. Somebody sent it to me today. I guess we're the second most improved defense in the country. And in the last 6 games, we gave up 13.8 points a game on defense, which, you're going to have a chance to win if you do that. And we weren't, I would never call us, we weren't just a devastating, off the field defense, but you had to earn to score on us. And if you do that and you keep them in the teams, you're going to win a lot of games. And I was proud of our kids. They bought into what we're doing. I thought we finally got everybody in the right place. And that's the key, putting people in position that can make you better. And they were a fun group, and they never stopped. Like before the game, I remember this vividly. One of my senior guys who was in the portal when I got there, I grabbed him and I said, "Stay with me." And I said, "We'll make this thing. It'll be fun." He grabbed me before the game, and he's a very quiet kid, and he told me, "Coach, we're winning today," and I knew we were. And it was a great feeling and a great story.
That gave me goosebumps, and I can't imagine what it does for you as a coach when somebody you ask them to believe in you, and then it happens.
Yeah. Well, and I always, last week they you and I talked the other day. They honored Eddie Lackey.
Yep.
I think of people like Eddie and the people I've had in my life. Eddie was an unbelievable story. Eddie, the only person that ever believed in Eddie was Eddie. I mean, his story is unbelievable. But yeah, that kind of stuff makes your life. All the criticism you take, all the disappointments. Every time Eddie was in a last spring, Eddie was in a bodybuilding test, and it was in College Station, and he came and we went to dinner, and we had more fun And it was, I think I might have told you, it was the night that he competed, and I bet he ate 5 pizzas.
Yeah.
But and I was laughing. I said, Eddie, I thought I'd do a lot of things with you, but I didn't think I'd drink this much beer with you.
Yeah, and he keeps talking about what was the story about his head? He got his bell rung. You still hammering him.
You know, we played that game early in Eddie's career. We made that great decision to go to UL Monroe, and they had already beaten Arkansas and should have beaten Auburn. And we go there, and Dave, it is 99% humidity. And here Eddie is from Riverside, California, no humidity. And he comes off the field, and they were good. And it's Duck Dynasty night. And he looked at me and Jim Gush. He goes, I'm a little bit dizzy. And Jim Gush looked at him. He goes, well, GD, you're making me dizzy the way you're friggin' playing. And Eddie just sort of looked at him and goes, these guys are nuts.
I was at that game, and that was dicey. You ended up winning in the end 47-42.
Yeah,
but that is a nutsy, crazy place. That's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it was. It was right there on the bayou.
Yeah, and Eddie told us that Aranda was actually the one that had recruited him to Hawaii, and then got the call from you guys.
That?
Yeah, crazy.
I went out there and I was recruiting him, and he had come to the Texas game. Would beat Texas, and he goes, well, I'm committed to Hawaii. And I said, well, and see what's funny? This is crazy. It's a small world. When I was at Pitt, we played Navy. Navy was really good, and we beat them. We played real good, and Hawaii was playing them. And I'll never forget, I stayed up late one night. So Dave and we were on the phone 2 hours because he's so detailed. And I was giving him my thoughts about Navy, and they were playing Navy, and I just knew. I hadn't met him, but I said, this guy's a football coach, and it's funny how things evolve.
Absolutely. One other note, you got anything else for Coach Ben? I got to ask you I've asked you what it means to a lot of people. What about what it means to Seth Luttrell? The win to get you bowl eligible, because I know he was under fire.
Yeah, he's the best of the best. He loved the kids, adore him. They've had some things. He started off on fire, and they haven't been very good on defense the last 3 years, or really maybe his whole time. They've outscored people, and I think he said it best the other day. He really did a good job, and he said this was his favorite team because we didn't have problems. We stayed the course, and they kept working. And they kept believing. The staff, there was no animosity. It was a smooth staff. People respected each other. And you could just tell that success was not very far away. And Seth he's a man's man. He is a tough, but yet passionate guy for his players and the game of football. I coached him. I knew what he was as a player. He's everything I thought he was as a coach.
Phil, thank you as always. Appreciate it. Congratulations, bowl eligible. I know what it means to the program, extra practices, and also for recruiting. Hit the road. I know you are, and thanks for your time as always.
Hey, it's always, I've missed you guys. It's been fun, though.
Yeah, we've missed the hell out of you, too. Phil Bennett, now defensive coordinator at North Texas. They turned around 1-6 to 6-6 and knocked out previously unbeaten UT San Antonio.
I wish I would have said this one there. It just occurred to me. By the way, R.C. Slocum rang the bell today, Baylor Scott and White. He's done with his cancer treatment.
Great
so
news.
Hopefully that's clear. So looked as happy as a man could be after doing that. So best of luck to R.C. Slocum.
Yeah, that was great to see, and obviously could have asked Phil about that, but also a lot of other things, a ton of other things. He's always a lot of fun to talk to and happy for North Texas. DeAndre Torrey's a real good back if you haven't had a chance to watch him. But a couple Lincoln Riley notes. We kind of knew this from the airport video earlier today from Oklahoma media, but Lincoln Riley's got his press conference going on right now in L.A. He turned around and looked at the Coliseum apparently and said that was going to be the mecca of college football, and they're going to, have the seats packed and all of that. He also talked about what a difficult decision it was, and he kind of needed a moment to pause and collect himself because he had said how well he was treated at Oklahoma and that this was a very tough decision. but also officially announced, and again, this was kind of known from the airport video, but Alex Grinch, new USC defensive coordinator. Dennis Simmons, new wide receivers coach. Benny Wiley, Trojans' new strength coach. They were all with him earlier today. And I don't know outside of that. Those were the only three mentioned: Grinch, Dennis Simmons, and Benny Wiley. But those are now confirmed. And, yeah, Lincoln Riley's in Los Angeles and making it all official right now. Some very interesting stuff.
Oh, my God, what a wonderful run of what it's been in college football, the ups and downs, as I mentioned, from things that you love, things that crushed you. TCU just a minute ago on their Twitter feed, join us in welcoming to Fort Worth Coach Dykes. And, of course, that story lasting now at SMU, and it continues, and now we'll keep our eye on Oklahoma.
They had to be sweating a little bit with the Lincoln Riley news because Dykes wasn't like signed, sealed, and delivered. It didn't appear. I know that at least Drew Davison from the Star-Telegram was like, well, I mean, Dykes is expected to be the coach, but there was suddenly like a little bit of concern that Oklahoma might come calling because they suddenly need somebody. But, yeah, good to have that official and for him to be the guy in Fort Worth. You know, we'll see what they do there. Zach Evans is obviously on his way out, and he would have probably been regardless of who they hired. But, yeah, a very important hire for TCU when you think about the fact they've had the same guy for 20-plus years, and that's all they've known. And now they're going to know something completely different. And as we've seen, you know, these hires, they're fun the day that they're announced 99% of the time, even though there are some you're like, I don't know about that one. But I don't know how TCU fans really feel. I think they're a little bit cautious about what this could be like because all they've known is Gary Patterson and winning, but good that that's official at least.
When we come back, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. Cowboys on Thursday. Well, Oakland had over 500 yards, and if you count the 166 yards in penalties, that's nearly 700 yards in positive. Cowboys lost. They have New Orleans on Thursday. They've got a COVID issue on the team and in the coaching staff, including their head coach in Mike McCarthy. That's next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
I went to Riverbend Liquor and Wine just the other day on my way back from Dallas, stopped in and ran a quick little errand, and I saw Jeffrey, young Jeffrey, the spawn, the next wave of the Chapman dynasty there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And let me tell you about the customer service. I walked in, Jeffrey was helping a guy who had a lot of questions, a lot of them. He was trying to get several things. What about this? What about that? And then a couple guys came in that were whiskey aficionados, and he showed them the newest Balcones ZZ Top that they have several bottle of, plus pointed in the direction of their many high-end bourbons, Bardstown, Buffalo Trace, Garrison Brothers, tons of stuff that they have there. And I can talk about all the different things that they have at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, including craft beer and every kind of spirit you'd want. But the customer service is what keeps me coming back there. It keeps their loyal customers coming back because it's very fast, it's very efficient, and they are very good, and they'll answer every single one of your questions. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Here's Pollard. Oh, to Pollard. Turn it on. Carlson. He gets past him. Look at Pollard taking it for the touchdown.
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
All right, the Cowboys have had themselves a stretch here with COVID. Last week dealt with it, but now with Terrence Steele, Mike McCarthy, a couple of other coaches, this and that. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. David, is there and then Tristan Hill suspended for a dumb move after the game for 2 games. Is there a possibility this thing can flare up that they don't play Thursday and they move the game back?
That's really not an option anymore, as far as I understand it.
Okay.
I mean, the league has agreed to new protocols. Once vaccination comes into play, the league has made it pretty clear over the course of 2021 that was a 2020 thing. They're not moving games. So, fortunately for the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy was their only positive test today. Nobody else entered the protocol today, but they're going to be testing the next 2 days, and I think there's probably going to be a lot of crossed fingers that this is the worst that it's going to get, because I don't think that's a realistic option this year. I think this game's probably getting played no matter what. So the hope is just that you have enough guys to get through it competently.
Yeah, and it comes at the worst possible time, David, to be nervous about this, and that the Cowboys are in a funk. They've lost 3 out of 4. They've lost. A lot of that, injuries and COVID is all kind of caught up to them at once here.
Yeah, you always know that this is going to be a tough stretch on the schedule. Every team in the league plays 3 games in 11 days, but by virtue of we talked about it last week, by virtue of the Thanksgiving game, it's always going to come late in the year for the Cowboys. It's always going to come when you're probably dealing with more injuries than usual. And yeah, this is kind of their second bout with COVID. It happened back in September. It's pretty awful timing, all things considered. And if they can find a way to kind of circle the wagons and sneak out of New Orleans with a win and get to this long weekend and a chance to kind of regroup and rest, it'll be really impressive, because it reminds me a lot of last Thanksgiving, really. I mean, this team went through an incredible stretch of bad breaks through November of last year. It seems like it's happening again right now.
All right, David Hellman with us, DallasCowboys.com. They're 7-4, and obviously they're still in control of the NFC East, and the Eagles lost yesterday. The Giants won. They had the change of Jason Garrett, offensive coordinator. Washington plays tonight. There's no worry, but at the same time, man, you get into a grind where you end up just slugging your way through the end of the year and end up with 9 or 10 wins. Can anyone else in the division even still get to that point besides Dallas?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's one fun byproduct of what the league did this year. I mean, if you look around the NFL, they have backloaded these schedules with division games. Usually, I mean, even more so than usual. Usually, the last week or two of the season is a lot of division games, but really, everybody in the NFL is playing division games all across the month of December. I mean, the Cowboys have 4 in the last 6 weeks. The Kansas City Chiefs basically play their entire division across the month. So, I mean, this is a big opportunity for the teams chasing Dallas. Now, obviously, it's a pretty big break for the Cowboys that Philly lost to a bad Giants team yesterday. So you feel good about the math of it, but you never know what can happen once you get into these division games. So I'm sure all 4 teams in the division are sitting there thinking, okay, we got a chance to get healthy. We got 1 month left in the season. Anything's possible once you get in division. I'm sure everybody in the division feels that way. And I think I saw a stat yesterday, like even the Giants, who you kind of think of as out of it mathematically, they're like a game out of the last wild card spot. So, I mean, there's everything to play for, and you're going to be playing a ton of division games. I mean, it should be a lot of fun. I just hope everybody can kind of get relatively healthy and get past this COVID thing so that we can enjoy it a little bit more than we have been the last week or two.
What do you think the status will be on Thursday night for Zeke Elliott?
I mean, I'm not going to say Zeke's fine. I know he's going through a lot of stuff, but Zeke's a warrior. He's going to gut it out. He's practiced fully both days this week. He's going to be available. And I keep saying, I know he's hobbled. I know he's not as explosive as he would be, but he's just too valuable of a player to leave off the roster if he can fight through it. I mean, if he's not healthy enough to play, that's a different matter, but he insists that he is. If you think about what he does for you in pass protection, what he's done this year as a receiver, in addition to just running the ball, I think he's going to play Thursday. I think he got through it, and I think we talked about this last week. They're going to get 3 or 4 days off when the Saints game is over, and you just hope that he can maximize that time to get a little bit fresher for the last 5 games of the year.
David, is LSU ever going to find a head coach?
I mean, they have to eventually. Somebody's got to coach them, but I'll be damned if I know who it's going to be. It's kind of like I got to give Scott Woodward credit. I mean, everybody's throwing a lot of smoke around, but I have yet to come across anybody who seems like they have a good idea of what's going to happen. It seems like he's pretty much the only person who knows what's going on. So hopefully he's got something fun up his sleeve.
If he were to call you and say, David, I'm lost in the woods, you give me a name and I'll go hire him, who would it be?
I mean, the new one, it's funny because they both got Baylor ties. The new one that I've heard that I like the sound of, I mean, Matt Rule's tired of slogging it out in the NFL. I'm absolutely down to let a guy that turned Temple and Baylor into contenders come coach with the talent level at LSU. That would make me very happy. And if Matt Rule says no thanks, then I would say, hey, Scott, why are we overthinking this? The guy in Waco who was our DC for 5 years hasn't signed an extension yet. Go make him an offer he can't refuse. So that's what I would say. I don't know what he's thinking, but that would be my advice.
Okay, you stay away from us, okay? Thank you very much, David Hellman. That's not going to happen, but we appreciate knowing you want it. We do. Thank you very much. Just like somebody said earlier, I think it was on the text line, it is refreshing, although sometimes annoying, that the coaches that we have are wanted by others, rather than for the longest of time when you had coaches that nobody wanted, unless it was for as a position coach or something else. Thanks to Michael Goodrich. Dr. Michael Goodrich sent us some goodies today in the mail, actually over the weekend. to Texas Roadhouse. Michael just back put it up on the chat room for Craig and Paul and me, and we'll take care of Jack and Armstrong as well, the nice note that you sent. He also wanted me to do this, and I will. Have you seen the trailers or have you seen the series called Texas 6? It's about Strawn's high school football team. Go to Google, go to YouTube. The trailer for Texas 6 is about the Strawn high school football team, and by the way, they're unbeaten again this year and might win another state title. I think they've won 4, and it's got a little bit of that. It's just great. And I've watched some of the series and the episodes. I want to give it a plug. Texas 6 about Strawn High School and 6-man football.
Now I know why he's a chicken fried steak fan.
Yes.
Because of Mary's and Strawn.
Yes, absolutely.
The place that I don't think they invented it, but they perfected it.
Former Baylor star Xavier Howard has now picked off 25 passes since the start of the 2017 season, leading the NFL in that time period. Had another one yesterday for the Miami Dolphins. He is just a machine.
They've won, 4 in a row, the Dolphins?
Yeah, Tua, I don't know if it's a stretch who they're playing. He's had back-to-back, like 2 weeks in a row. He's like 65 of 80 passing for about 500 yards or so total.
Maybe it's like you should let the guy get his sea legs under him and play a few games before you've given up hope after very little time.
Well, I mean, the Dolphins did contribute to the Matt Rule getting fired rumors directly yesterday with a 23-point blowout win. So, that was just more gasoline on that. Thank you for the card and the certificates. Very, very kind of you, and we appreciate you listening. But, interesting stuff going on with the Cowboys. I'm monitoring the Lincoln Riley press conference and just all that's going on. And, man, there's so much we haven't even talked about from this weekend that we've just touched on. But, I mean, it's crazy right now in college football. A lot of fun here as we get towards the end.
I'll say this right now. Now, granted, if the season gets out of control, then maybe this will change. But I even think, given that, I think David Tepper's in for the long haul with Matt Rule. They don't have their quarterback yet. Their best player got injured and left that game. They haven't been able to – I mean, they've only gone through 2 draft cycles, and I think you need – at least one more, and he came from the Steelers organization, an organization that does not fire coaches. So if David Tepper...
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, if David Tepper is anything like the Rooneys who he learned everything from, then Matt Rule is safe for now.
And they basically almost played the entire year without Christian McCaffrey, who is out again. He's gone for the rest of the year, injured his ankle. He's out. He had a little bit of time in the first half in their loss to Miami, and he's done for the year. Blame Jennifer Smoak for drafting him number 1 overall. At the end of the press conference on Saturday after the win against Texas Tech, and that was a grinded-out, intense, tough game. Tech came to play, played well. Josh Bookbinder's one of the younger coaches among the support staff who's joining Joey McGuire's staff at Texas Tech. Here's a story about Josh. He's been at Liberty for a long time. Came to Baylor. He's going to be the safeties coach. His grandfather is a guy named Grant Taff. His grandmother was a cheerleader at Texas Tech. Grant Taff was an assistant at Texas Tech. And then he told me another story. I forgot another where his uncle, I believe, played basketball at Texas Tech. So there's all sorts of connections. Josh Bookbinder, one of the young coaches. There's a couple others that are leaving as well to join Joey. But they're part of the support staff, and these are opportunities. And how Dave Aranda handled that question Saturday night by saying he wished them well and trusted them to coach their asses off, basically, without saying that. Potty mouth for me. That he allowed them to stay around, wanted them to stay around, wished them the best of luck, but coach us, even against someone you're going to be coaching for.
The biggest quote in that whole press conference, and I didn't tweet it out at the time because there was too much other stuff, they didn't change their defensive signals despite the fact they were playing Joey McGuire. So I think that's kudos to McGuire. And I'm just giving him those blindly because, I don't know, he might have tried to help Tech coaches, figure out some things. But regardless, Aranda didn't seem too plus by it. So they just went about their business. And, yeah, it wasn't easy like you said, but in the long run they got the win number 10, and now they have a chance at 11 and a Big 12 title and perhaps even 12 and a major bowl title. We'll see. Obviously, a long way to go, and they did not fare well against Oklahoma State the last time around, but all they needed to do was win on Saturday, and they got that win, so that's what matters.
West Virginia fans, Robert Thornton sent me an email, a couple of them lengthy, about Neil Brown. Watching what happens with Mark Stoops at Kentucky, who I had a picture of him. I saw him on Twitter on the road recruiting, but maybe he gets involved in LSU, or maybe he gets involved because of the Stoops family with Oklahoma. And then if that opens up, Neil Brown, from what Robert was telling me, is from Kentucky. So you never know, and that's just something from a fan who sent that to us, a listener and a viewer. You never know the domino effect.
I'm going to solve the coaching carousel in the top 5.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm going to solve it.
Okay, good. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5 on a day that we would never have enough time to get through it all, and we've tried. We'll have the college football playoff discussion tomorrow. Also, Ryan Abraham covers USC tomorrow on Today, and Lincoln Riley in Southern Cal, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. I saw where John Henry, who works there, his son Braylon had a big game in Lorena's playoff win, 62-13 win against Columbus. John Henry works at PettyClinicLowT.com for Dr. Kent Petty. What did they do? Well, they help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, and maybe as you've gotten older, you used to be. Testosterone in your body can change. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. What happens? Your testosterone lowers itself. It can affect your energy, your sleep habits, it can affect the way you feel, your focus, and yes, your sex drive. Dr. Kent Petty will get you an appointment to get your blood work, get the lab results, look at your testosterone levels, and if they're too low, he can put you and give you the option to be a part of a program that helps you become the high-performance man that you once were and you want to be again. At PettyClinicLowT.com.
Black Friday. It gets all the attention, but what about Truck Friday? Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and we say enough is enough. AirPods? Good luck storing your tools in those things. Get me a toolbox, please, for $50 off at Pickup Outfitters. And a bathrobe is not going to keep your golf clubs or fishing poles covered up in your bed. You need to give your wife some help and send her to Pickup Outfitters instead. We got a truckload of specials for Truck Friday. WeatherTech or Husky floor liners, $40 off when you purchase a set. Free plug in the bed with every gooseneck or fifth wheel install. Spray in bed liners with a lifetime warranty, $75 off. ARE camper shells or DCU units, $200 off. $150 off Amp Research Power Steps. Catskin leather kits, $100 off. A complete list of specials is in our showroom. Truck Friday is 8 days only from Friday, November 26th through Saturday, December 4th. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com/truckfriday.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 moves to end the coaching carousel. It's going to end it right here. I'm going to solve it for you. I don't care if this is what you want or don't. I'm right on one of these before it happened this morning when I sent this to Hayden at 8:51 a.m. So
wait, when did Hayden actually read it?
I don't know. I'm just telling you. I've got it right here.
All right.
I've got the receipts. 8:51 a.m. Number 2, I nailed. So the rest, I don't care if you like him or not.
Paul,
I'm
1 for 5 in baseball gets you benched.
Yeah, look. I'm just telling you, this is what works. Okay, number 5, Mark Stoops to Oklahoma. I like what he's done at Kentucky. Bob can keep, can I guide him there? I am a big fan of Mark Stoops. I think Kentucky is about where they're probably going to be with him, and Oklahoma going to the SEC, a lot more resources, and he can step in there and maybe help stop some of the bleeding.
Yeah, maybe. It makes sense. I've seen his name linked amongst 1,500 others at this point. Everybody from Matt Rule to Dave Aranda to Mark Stoops to Brent Venables to name a guy. Basically, they've been mentioned for the job at this point. But yeah, the Stoops factor obviously makes a lot of sense. Would have a good working knowledge of the program and support as well. He's in a good situation with Kentucky right now, but yeah, it's going to be hard to imagine them breaking through anytime soon, especially with Texas and Oklahoma also now coming in soon. So, that's definitely a name I would keep an eye on as far as OU goes.
Yeah, all right. Now, look, if Mark Stoops leaves Kentucky, you got to fill that job. Mike Elko can have the Kentucky job.
What defense were they playing when LSU threw that touchdown pass?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think Jimbo didn't have to deny Scott Woodward anymore. I don't think Scott Woodward can have a press conference this week and say, "Hey, this guy that we just beat, that we had no business beating, he's the new coach."
Yeah, I saw a lot of complaining about the officiating in that game.
Oh, it wasn't great, but is it ever?
No, it's not. It's never great. That's why it's almost pointless to complain about, because you could do that every single Saturday. But Elko seems like a guy who is getting brought up for a lot of jobs, but there doesn't actually seem to be any traction. You have to think that eventually he is going to make a jump at some point. Obviously the Neil Brown thing would be of interest to Kentucky as well. But okay, if you're filling the jobs up and Elko goes to Kentucky, okay.
Yeah. All right. Now, these other jobs are still, one of them isn't. Number 3, Jamie Chadwell of Virginia Tech. I don't know how many top 5s I have to do Virginia Tech before you listen to me and say, yes, Jamie Chadwell should be your guy.
Maybe they don't subscribe.
I don't know.
Well, maybe they just don't believe it, because, obviously nobody else does either. Yeah. He's still at Coastal Carolina, right? He's not being mentioned anywhere else. He was a hot name just because of what Coastal was doing during the season, but at this point he's just kind of a name that's attached to be attached, and you would think the Virginia Tech job's right there, that would make sense. But honestly, I've lost track of Virginia Tech in this whole thing. Like, they've fallen to the 8th most interesting job in the entire I forgot they were even still open.
Yeah,
seriously. Behind OU and LSU and USC and et cetera, et cetera. So, no idea what's going on there right now. Probably need to read more about that tonight. But, okay, Jamie Chat. It's cooled off on him a lot, though. I don't know if it's just not being proven enough at this point or what it is, but it does seem like it's cooled off on the Jamie Chadwell love.
Yeah, I just think he's a great fit there. I think he really is. I think he fits the culture. I think,
No, that's surprising that hasn't happened yet. But maybe they want somebody else in that area. Somebody on the board, on the chat, said something about the coach at Marshall. There's maybe an option.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, Kalen DeBoer to Washington.
You nailed that one.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. So, I think he's going to do a great job there. He's done a great job at Fresno State. He's got California recruiting ties. He's won at the levels he's been at. And so as he grows up, I think this is great. I think this is what more schools should do and not recycle. But the number one I'm going to give you is a total recycle. But I think it's probably going to be what they're going to have to do given where they are. But I think this is a great hire for Washington. I think he's going to do well there. And look, outside of Lincoln Riley and Mario Cristobal, what coaches, make you quiver in your boots in the Pac-12? So, and Washington's had success before. Beautiful campus in a beautiful area. And, maybe some kids do want to leave California or come west from other spots and go to UW.
Yeah, Utah's a job that you look at and you go, yeah, they're pretty good over there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's only 3, really. But, I like that this wasn't some splashy, sexy, big-name hire. And a lot of people probably, maybe not Washington fans, but a lot of people outside of the West Coast are probably like, who? But, yeah, he's a good coach. And Fresno State's been a good program. He can't possibly be any worse than Jimmy Lake. There's no way possible for that to happen that I could see. So, yeah, glad to see Washington not get all caught up in the rumor mills and the this and that and like who's gonna. They just went out, identified a guy, said he's what we need, and they went and got it done and didn't fool with all this other unnecessary stuff. So I commend the Huskies for that, and I think he's a good hire.
And number 1, I think this is what's going to have to happen because right now I don't believe Brian Kelly to LSU. I don't think that's a fit. I think Brian Kelly's agent might be throwing it out there to get whatever he can out of Notre Dame. I know that LSU is a bigger program, but Notre Dame is Notre Dame. They don't have a conference championship game. They just have to make the committee feel warm and fuzzy to get into the playoff if they have the right record. But I say Bill O'Brien to LSU. He's the Alabama offensive coordinator. He wants to be a head coach again. He's been in the NFL. He's been at Penn State. This job is not too big for Bill O'Brien. Now, what he did at Houston will not inspire you, but I do think that, a year in the Saban rehab program gets Bill O'Brien to LSU, and I don't know what their options are after that because, as we've said, Dave Aranda not going there. Don't think Brian Kelly's going there. And I also think that Dave Aranda is a big enough name for Scott Woodward to this point. Bill O'Brien technically is a bigger name.
Well, sometimes Scott Woodward is just not going to get what he wants.
Yeah.
And money doesn't buy everything, although he seems to think that it does. But Dave Aranda, I don't worry about it right now, but that's not dying. If anything, it's only heating up even more with more coaches falling to the wayside for LSU. So that's not going to stop until they hire somebody. The whole Dave Aranda to LSU thing. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing more of it right now than ever before on Twitter because of the fact that they're also now missing out on yet another guy, and so they're getting down to their few options that are remaining. But yeah, Bill O'Brien, a guy that's certainly been discussed as part of this carousel. I don't know that he gets anybody too drummed up or super excited, but he does have some pedigree, as you said. So you could do worse than Bill O'Brien. I feel like in this hire, but you could probably still do better as well. So we'll see, man. LSU is in a very interesting position right now.
I mentioned last week on Tuesday that Baylor was going to handle Dave Aranda and that. It depended on this past weekend. Had they won and Oklahoma State had won, then I think you would hear something this week, but that now will be pushed back because they have another game to play. And I said it would be by the end of the regular season. For them, that now includes Arlington at AT&T Stadium. And I, again, discussed that with sources again today at Baylor.
And that's all well and good, but if they don't, and that they being LSU, don't announce something in the next 2 weeks and Aranda still hasn't signed a contract and their season's wrapping up, well, I mean, that's the thing. Is LSU going to hire somebody before then? Because if not, then we can hear all we want to, but that's only going to heat up like volcano level heat in the next couple of weeks.
I think the best thing for Baylor would be if and Dave Aranda's not going to talk to anybody until his regular season's over, so LSU probably has to get something done here this week anyway, so that might just take him off the board completely then because they really need to get something done because they've been open longer than anybody but USC.
Yeah.
They should have had a better plan.
No,
they clearly had no plan. Their plan was we're just going to I guess they just felt like they could money whip somebody like Jimbo or whoever else to go take that job. And That's not the case as of right now, and maybe I wouldn't be surprised if they pull a USC and pull something out of their hat or whatever when all is said and done. I don't doubt that they could do that. But as it stands right now on this Monday, it's very curious. What move is LSU going to make? Because now we're moving on to Brian Kelly and Notre Dame rumors.
I remember in 2003, not quite at the time they still were. They were a part of the elite of college football. Nebraska had Frank Solich. They wanted to get rid of him. They moved him on. Steve Peterson thought he had X, Y, Z, O, I, T, U, whatever. They ended up with Bill Callahan, and they have never been the same ever since. LSU will survive whoever they hire, but it was a cluster, and you wonder sometimes if you just made the wrong decision and thought you could get whoever you wanted. We got to go. Thanks to Jack McKenzie in the background every afternoon on his Twitter feed, on ours as well. A beautiful graphic of our lineup. Armstrong Sims behind the scenes with the mothership as well. Hope you enjoyed your holiday weekend. And here we go. Tomorrow, the college football playoff discussion. Ryan Abraham on USC. Baylor's AD Mac Rhodes. For Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. We love you. Thank you and appreciate you, the family. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.